The opinions and views expressed in the following program are those of the speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look at my soul. I've been afraid I would follow alone. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
It's a phone-in Friday edition of Running Point on YSNLive.com. Ron Potesta with you. Gorgeous Friday in the Mahoning Valley. Number to call, 330-886-0813. That's 330-886-0813. Ron Potesta with you right up until 3 o'clock as we jump in on a Friday edition of Running Point on YSNLive.com. Last night had some really, really good baseball from Scene Park as the Astro Falcons were defeated for the first time this season in B-League action. As the Astros were defeated by Prospects, your final score 1-0. Just a great pitchers duel last night as Austin Price outdueled Cal Bickerstaff. And the Astros left some guys on the base paths, 10 of them to be exact, and they certainly had chances to go about their business and win last night. But when push came to shove, Austin Price came to play. He did not throw the ball nearly as hard as Bickerstaff did, but he located the ball so much better and just had an unbelievable job of getting in and out of trouble last night. It was a fun game to watch, a very entertaining game to broadcast, and the Prospects they outplayed the Astro Falcons last night, and give them credit, they deserve the victory.
Well, I'll tell you that the Prospects definitely used their opportunities more aptly than the Astro Falcons did. You said the Falcons left 10 runners on base, and that's not a recipe for success in baseball. And what was interesting about the pitchers' duel between Price and Bickerstaff is two completely different styles of pitching. I mean, Bickerstaff brings the heat. He pitches like maybe low 90s fastball. And then Price is more of a, he doesn't have the speed, but he has the command. And we talked about that on Wednesday. Sometimes someone with a lot of command can be more deadly than someone with a lot of speed. And Price definitely proved that last night with a wonderful pitching performance. He gave up the hits, but he trusted his defense and put the ball where it needed to be in the strike zone.
Now, Price did walk 3 batters. Bickerstaff didn't walk anyone. Bickerstaff's control was there all night long, mainly because his fastball was overpowering. But when Price needed to put a ball in the strike zone, not only did he put a ball in the strike zone, he put the ball in a place where you're not going to have a whole lot of success. And that's basically where the difference was last night. His location was just absolutely impeccable when it needed to be.
And his walks weren't quote-unquote bad walks. They were smart walks. He was putting balls in smart locations, missing the strike zone. But sometimes, throwing a ball out of the strike zone is a good pitch. It's a good location. So he wasn't, to my recollection, you called the game. I don't think any of his walks were necessarily, wow, this lost his command a little bit and he's wild. I mean, he had really good location on his pitches, even on the walks that he had.
Yeah, he was in a little bit of trouble in the fifth inning. One of his walks was leading off the fourth. Morocco got on a walk. He was quickly erased after Aiden Shepard struck out. Golchinski grounded to the third baseman. It was a slow roller. Helpy was able to go to YSN to get the force on Morocco at second. The fifth inning was a little hairy because, again, Price walked Ricky Havrilla, the 9-hitter, and then he walked Chase Franken to load the bases after Greg Johnson got a base hit to right center field. And when the bases loaded, he was able to get Shepard, routine fly ball to Cruz Weiser to end the inning. And then in the sixth inning, they got a couple of guys on, but he struck out Andrew Russell to end the sixth inning. He danced in and out of trouble, and Austin Price, again, he does not throw the ball hard per se, but his location last night, it was spot on. It was a brilliant pitching performance when he needed to be.
Yeah, and then when you talk about the winning sequence for the prospects, Shane Cato's on first with 2 outs. They decide to run him. He steals second, and then Jeremy Cruzweiser puts on the cape. And I think with 2 strikes, if I remember correctly, hits a RBI single to score the winning run for the prospects. So Cruzweiser, doing what he does best, putting on a cape for his team and playing the hero.
Yeah, and the thing is, Fox's throw to the plate was a really good throw. It short-hopped the catcher. If Johnson makes the play, and it was difficult, but if Johnson makes the play, I'm not so sure that Cato beats the throw. It would have been really close, but again, the ball was short-hopped, and it scooted past the catcher, Johnson. But like I said, if Johnson makes the play, I'm not convinced Cato scores easily. I think you definitely have a play at the plate. But again, the throw home, solid throw. It was on target. Unfortunately, it short-hopped the catcher, Johnson, and the ball skipped right underneath his glove.
And like you said, great throw. Phil Fox played a heck of a game on both sides. Great defensive player, but he also went 2 for 3 on the game. So he had a good night for the Falcons, and one of the only offensive players that had a really good night. I mean, I think he was the only player with multiple hits.
Yeah, it was a fun game to watch, and you don't see a lot of the 1-0 games in baseball, let alone Major League Baseball. You just don't see games like that. But I will contend, and I'd love to hear from folks about this at 330-886-0813. That's the kind of game that I'll gladly see. I will gladly see a game that has a lot of excitement, even though there was not a lot of runs scored. I mean, only 1 run scored. If people are going to sit back and go, oh, that had to have been a boring game, then obviously you're clueless when it comes to baseball, because this was a very exciting game. You don't necessarily have to have a crap load of runs to get an exciting game. This was an exciting game last night, and exciting for a lot of reasons. And again, one of those games that I absolutely enjoyed. And the best part is the 2-hour time limit was not affected. This ball game was over well within the 2-hour reach, which was a bonus as far as I'm concerned. All right, 330-886-0813. That is the number to call. It's phone in Friday on this Friday edition of Running Point.
And I want to give Dura Edge a shout out too, because they were trailing 3-1 in most of their game against. Who were they playing? Yeah, they were trailing most of their game, and they scored 6 runs in the last 2 innings to win 7-3. So they were trailing 3-1, and they had a late burst when they needed it, and they got a much needed win to Dura Edge. And we were talking to Safaldi on Wednesday. He was telling us, Dura Edge is kind of struggling right now. They lost some players last minute that decided not to play. So to get a win like that, a very momentum-swinging win, to score late runs and erase a deficit that you were trailing most of the game 3-1, that's a big win for them. And then Wednesday night, after our show, Josh Reed for 16U Creekside threw a 7-inning no-hitter. So props to him. That's someone that we definitely want to highlight on this show, because it happened Wednesday night, but what a performance from him. We're seeing more and more great performances from Class B.
Yeah, it was definitely a lot of fun. By the way, lost in the Prospects' victory over the Astros. The fact that Creekside is now 1 game in back of the Astro Falcons in the loss column, as they were down 2-0 to Eagleware.
They blew up.
And then they started getting all kinds of runs. 4 in the third, 2 in the fourth, 2 in the fifth, 4 more in the 6th inning. 2-0 lead turned into a 12-2 mercy rule, 6-inning victory for Creekside. as they move their record to 5-2 on the campaign. And again, with the Astro Falcons losing for the first time, they're now 5-1. Creekside is a half a game out of first place, 1 game out in the loss column, and that victory by Prospects just tightened the standings in the B League. And again, you're not going to see the Astro Falcons lose too many times, so any time that you can have that team lose a game and you're up in the standings, you better take advantage of it. And even though this game was before the nightcap, Creekside did what they needed to do to pick up their 5th victory of the year.
Yeah, and Grant Vojtovic had a heck of a game at the plate. I mean, he went 3 for 4 with 3 RBIs, so he's definitely looking sharp for Creekside. And they're a really strong team, very deep as their lineup goes. They have a great pitching staff. They allowed 2 runs early, but then shut down the offense for the rest of the game. So they look like a team that can really compete against the Astro Falcons.
Yeah, Vojtovic got the 2-run triple that scored the 3rd and 4th run of the 6th inning that essentially turned the game out. Because, B League rules, if you're up by 10 after 5, 4.5, 5, or 6 innings, the game automatically comes to an end. And Vojtovic's 2-run triple was the 11th and 12th runs of the game, and that enabled Creekside to defeat Eagleware via the mercy rule last night, 12-2. So congratulations to Creekside. They moved their record to 5-2, and with the Astro Falcons losing last night, Creekside at 5-2, the Astro Falcons at 5-1. Things just got a whole lot tighter in the 18U B League division.
It's going to be fun whenever those 2 teams kind of meet up to play each other. It's going to be a really meaningful game.
Yeah, and they've played each other once already. The Astro Falcons got away with a 1-run victory. And again, round robin, they only play each other 2 times in the regular season now instead of 3.
That was also, I believe, the first day of 18U's in Class B, or maybe they played. It was the Monday. They started Sunday the 14th. I think that was the 15th. They played each other, and right away, right off the bat, Creekside gave the Falcons a heck of a game, 3-2, if my memory.
Yeah, it was game number 2 for both teams. The Astro Falcons won their first game on Sunday the 14th, knocking off Whiting roll-offs. Meanwhile, Creekside played Avalanche on Sunday the 14th. Then they played each other on Monday the 15th. So it was game 2 for both teams. But, early on they saw each other. They will play each other again, I want to say in early July, if I'm not mistaken. So
mark that down on your calendars. And then also, the next matchup between Prospects and Falcons, better mark that one down too, because that's going to be a hoot.
Yeah, I was reminded that there was all kinds of chirping going on. That was whatever process. It's kind of the equivalent of a professional team or a team on the top stage doing some chirping through the media and bulletin board material and whatnot. And last night's game was fun. It was a good game.
The Prospects definitely took the approach leading up to that game of standing right up to the bully, like face-to-face with the Falcons.
There you go.
Not backing down. And I give them props. They backed it up, and they went out and won. So when you can chirp a little bit and then go and back it up on the field, then more power to you.
And as I said, 10 men left on base for the Astro Falcons. They left 2 guys on the doorstep. Ironically enough, Havrilla was left on the doorstep both times in the 3rd inning and in the 5th inning. There was, there were a couple of kids left on at second base. Andrew Morocco was left on at second base in the 6th inning. Let me look through my notes a little bit more. Greg Johnson was left on at second base in the 5th inning. And then the rest of the runners, which would be 6 more, were only left at first base. So even though you look at that high number, guys left on first base, that's who cares? If you leave someone on base in scoring position, specifically on the doorstep at third base, okay, now we can start talking what's going on
And then
here.
when you do leave people on first base, you just have to dive a little bit deeper and say, why didn't you move that runner over, or why couldn't you get another runner to second? Because that's another mistake too. I mean, when you get someone on, the whole point of getting someone on first is get them to second, get them in the scoring position, and then do your job. So,
and to your point, the first runner left on at first base, 2-out base hit by Phil Fox. You can't sacrifice him to second. Obviously, the inning is over. Chase Franken left on at first base in the third inning, 2-out base hit. Lucas Golchinski left on at first base. He reached on a 1-outfielder's choice, so he was on with 2 outs. Chase Franken left on at first base. Ricky Havrilla left on at third base in the 5th inning with 2 outs. Phil Fox left on at first base with 2 outs in the 6th inning. Greg Johnson, who reached after Austin Price was taken out of the game in the 7th inning, and we'll get into that incredibly stupid rule. Not in terms of the rule, but in terms of the meaning of the rule. It's incredibly stupid. Greg Johnson was left at first base, again, 2 outs. So when you leave guys on base with 2 outs, again, your options are limited.
Yeah.
When you have a runner at first base and 2 outs. You can't sacrifice him. You can try to have him steal second base. That's kind of ballsy. Especially
prospects did it.
Yeah, and they did. Especially if you run yourself out of an inning, that you're taking a gamble. Now, to prospects' credit, Shane Cato led off the 3rd inning, and this was the only inning they scored. He led off the 3rd inning with a base hit. Maltari struck out, Masucci struck out, and then Jeremy Kruzweiser stepped to the plate. Cato stole second base. And then Kruzweiser got the base hit to center field, and Cato was able to score on the RBI base hit to center by Kruzweiser.
And Kruzweiser bailed out his teammates because those 2 strikeouts are just like rally killers. But Cato's a guy that he's so fast. He always has a green light, I bet. But if we ask Coach Taylor, he would say, man, he's almost always has the green light if he can time up the pitcher, go. Because he's a very quick on his feet, very smart base runner. He's able to score from second, like you said, on a play that could have been close if the catcher was able to make the play. So a very smart base runner and a very fast kid. So he probably always has the green light to go.
Yeah, and the thing that impressed me the most, okay, it's one thing to steal a base when a kid's throwing not really hard or he's throwing a breaking ball. That's an easy pitch to go on. And again, if you get a great jump, easy pitch to go on. Bickerstaff throws 90 or a little north of 90, not much more than 90, maybe 91, 92. Still, that is a really, really tough pitch to run on. And you can only imagine when you get to the major leagues and guys are throwing 95, 96, it's imperative that you got to get a great jump on the pitcher if it's a fastball in order for you to steal second base. And to Cato's credit, he got a great jump.
Can you remember? Did he steal on a fastball?
I believe he did steal on the fastball.
Because I know Bickerstaff was throwing mostly fastballs anyway.
Yes.
I mean, he didn't really go off of that.
Every once in a while, you saw a slider, which it's got good movement on it. It's just left up in the zone.
We talked to the coaches after the game, and they just said, he didn't have his best secondary pitches. So to not have all your stuff that night and still strike out 10 and walk none, what a performance from Bickerstaff.
Yeah, and you see an awful lot of this in A-ball. You'll see an awful lot where a kid would have 1+ pitch, and the other pitches are pedestrian.
Yeah, I mean, he has it. He just didn't have it that night.
Yeah.
I mean, you could tell from his slider, the movement, like you said, is there.
It's there, but it's left up in the strike zone.
He has the slider. He just didn't have it.
Yeah, he didn't locate it. He didn't locate it very well.
And that happens to the best pitchers, where they're throwing the first couple innings. They'll test out their pitches. Hey, I don't have this one. I better trust my first pitch. And
you can trust a fastball that's 90 miles an hour.
Yep.
Or just north of 90 miles an hour when you're playing 18U.
And located right. I mean,
Yeah.
It wasn't like throwing 90 straight down the middle.
No.
He was locating his fastball, and he did a good job of just navigating the fact that he didn't have his slider.
Yeah, and again, I equate it an awful lot if you're in the lower minor leagues and a kid has one pitch and he struggles with the other pitches like Bickerstaff did last night. It's easy to get a bunch of punch outs on one pitch, because if your one pitch is a plus pitch, okay, you're expected to do an awful lot with that one pitch. Here's where things get a little more difficult. And again, you're only 18 years of age. This is 4 years down the road, and I don't even know if Bickerstaff's good enough to be in the minor leagues. But let's say 4 years down the road, Bickerstaff is in Double-A ball. He wouldn't get away with any of this stuff. He would have been lit up like a Christmas tree in Double-A or Triple-A, only throwing one pitch. This is where in when you get close to Major League Baseball, if you only have one pitch as a starting pitcher, you are screwed 50 ways of Sunday. This is where you have to have so much respect, for lack of a better word, so much appreciation for a guy in Double-A, Triple-A, or the major leagues that has 2, 3, 4 pitches
as
that
a start.
At any time,
because
you can throw that pitch anywhere you want to in the strike zone. That's where you're going to be able to go through the minors and get into the major leagues.
As a starter. But
As a
you
starter.
could be a reliever.
You can be a reliever and have one pitch.
Have a fastball, boom.
Yeah.
Good luck hitting it. Like,
Chapman.
Mario Rivera. He has the cutter.
Yeah, Rivera has the cutter.
You know it's coming. You can't hit it.
And he goes to the Hall of Fame based on one pitch,
Right.
which was the cutter. And
But
he
yeah,
threw it so
Chapman-
damn well.
Chapman, here's my 100-mile-an-hour fastball. You have 3 at-bats to hit it. Good luck.
And he's easy to hit if his fastball is straight. You just
Right,
have to
but
time it
that's
up.
That's a big if.
But it's not very often that Chapman has a straight fastball, because he can also double it up with his slider.
What you have to do is force him to throw that slider a little bit more than he used to.
There you go.
And he's going to leave that slider up, and that's what he did against the Astros. He left. I know they knew it was coming. They cheated, but he still left that pitch in a really bad spot because they forced him to throw a slider. And that slider was a hanger. It was belt high, and it was hit for a home run.
You go back to the 2016 World Series when the Indians tied the ball game on Rajai Davis's home run. He knew the area where Chapman was going to throw the ball. He knew that area. Okay, get the bat on the ball as quickly as possible, and if you kind of have an idea where that pitch is going to be, below the belt, inner half of the plate, get that bat head out there and take care of business. And to his credit, he did it.
If memory serves, it wasn't a tremendously located pitch that he hit. I mean,
No.
it wasn't where Chapman wanted to put it.
No, it was below the belt, but
It was over the plate a little.
it was too much of the plate, and that's again the game of inches, and the pitching aspect of it is so freaking fascinating. Where if a guy misses this much,
Well, that you can say that for a hitter too. I mean, if a hitter misses the ball,
yeah,
if he gets an inch more of a bat on it, it's gone. But instead, he missed it by an inch, and it's a pop up to center field.
go to the very first inning last night. The leadoff hitter Chase Franken, he missed a home run because he missed the sweet spot by this much.
Right?
He got just a little bit too far down the bat. He didn't get all of it, and he just missed putting one either over the fence or up against the wall. And for a kid like Chase Franken, he's not a big kid.
No,
He's getting bigger, but he's not a big kid. But the thing that makes Chase dangerous with his bat, he has a tremendous amount of loft, and he can put backspin on the ball. And if you have backspin as the ball goes in the air, it goes further.
And also, if you watch Chase's swing, he does a really good job of controlling his lower body.
Yep.
And he has really good torque. And it doesn't matter if you're a smaller guy, if you can torque your body and use the lower your hips to fool that swing, then you're going to be a power. I mean, look, it's just like Altuve. He's not a big hitter. He's not big, but he really has got good motion in the lower half of his body. Uses that torque, and then,
Now, I don't want him to be a power hitter.
No.
I want a guy to
But
be a gap hitter who occasionally pops one out of the yard. And
But
the more I see this kid the more I think, well, number one, he's not going to be an infielder. And I'm going to put my scouting hat on. Chase Franken can be an elite center fielder.
Absolutely.
He can be an elite center fielder because he's got a ridiculous amount of speed. He knows how to track the ball off the bat. This kid has a chance to be someone incredibly special as long as he keeps the mentality of, I am going to be a gap hitter, occasionally put the ball on the ground and use my speed going the other way. And if you are locked in to be a gap hitter, this kid could be an awful lot of fun to watch in a Penguin uniform.
To go back, like gap hitters, they're not going to be known for their power, but they also have to be respected for their power.
Absolutely.
That's what he's going to be. He's going to have enough power that you have to respect it. Not going to be a guy like in the majors. He wouldn't be a guy that hits, 30 plus home runs, but he'll get you 15 to 20.
As his body fills out, maybe
those kind of guys, like he'll be the kind of guy that can get you, the average amount of home runs. He's not going to hit a lot. He's not going to hit almost none or 2 or 3. He's going to hit you the average amount of home runs. He's going to have enough power that pitchers have to respect it.
Yeah, and his calling card, if he's going to have one, and again, it's fun to project, and sometimes this is where the scout makes the bones. Is if you're seeing a kid and you're immediately looking at his potential, and then you're trying to put a round peg into a round hole, and the guys that are really good at this, they make the most bucks within the game. If you're trying to maximize this kid's potential, and I'll use Chase because I've known him since the day he was born, his round piece into a round hole. Chase Franken would be a center fielder, a leadoff type of hitter, a guy that's going to get you 25 to 30 bags, and frankly, I don't care if he hits more than 15 home runs because he's the prototypical leadoff hitter that gets the ball into the gap, gets everything started, and takes as many pitches as humanly possible, unless, of course, there's one pitch right down the middle that you got to have. He's perfect in the top of the lineup with his speed, and I think that there's a really good chance Youngstown State uses him as a center fielder, and if they do, this kid has a chance to be an elite defensive center fielder.
And he did that last night. He saw the first pitch; it was down the middle. He went after it,
Absolutely.
hit the ball on the screws.
He hit it on the screws,
right to the second baseman,
right to YSN. And if he gets the ball in the air, a foot more in the air, that ball's going right over his head, up the right center field alley, and we have a tie game.
Right.
So I have no problem if a guy is looking at the first pitch and it's a meatball right down the middle. You want to splash that bad boy. Well, he hit it hard, but right at someone. And give credit to prospects. They put the Astro Falcons in that position. I mean, there were a number of times where you had an opportunity to get a base hit to tie the game. Shepard in the third inning lined out to the second baseman. Now, he didn't completely hit it on the screws, but it was a hard hit ball right at the second baseman. The fly ball to center field that Shepard hit in the fifth inning with runners at first and second. It was okay struck ball. The sixth inning, Golchinski lined out to the third baseman with a runner at first base. Ripped the ball right to Helpe. It is what it is.
Right? Game of inches.
Exactly.
But as much as we've stated, the Astros that definitely left people on base, but you also want to give credit to the prospects pitching because that's
it was unbelievable.
It's a lot of high stress pitches.
Yes,
and Price really executed when he needed to.
Yeah, and Austin Price pitched his butt off. He pitched a really good game. 6 2/3, no runs, 7 hits, 3 walks. 6 strikeouts. When there was a guy on first base, it was a guy on first base with 2 outs in the inning. So, you can look at the 10 base runners of the Astro Falcons left. 2 of them were left on the doorstep. 2 of them were left at second base. 6 of them were left at first base. All 6 of them were left with 2 outs, runner at first, which is, again, irrelevant. You're not going to score that guy unless you get an extra base hit. So it was a well-pitched game. Unfortunately, he had to exit the game with 2 outs in the 7th inning, based on a rule that I don't necessarily agree with. And it's not about I don't agree with the high number of pitches. There's dual meaning to amount of pitches, and there's too many people in baseball that are not getting this right. I don't want to sit back and be a professor in a college classroom, but I guess I'm going to have to.
You want me to
be.
go get your whiteboard real quick? I'll go get you.
Yeah, and I feel like that. Hold on a second. I feel like the glasses need to come down here.
You got to do the Superman Clark Kent.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and then you got to do this, and you do this, and write a couple of things.
Well, I'll tell you, this is
so many people are hung up on pitch count, and I'll say, to a degree, I understand when people sit back and say pitch count is important. To a degree, I understand that. The common misconception that people have in the game of baseball, below the minor leagues, the common misconception that people have is, well, if a kid throws 100 pitches, that's it. He's out of the game. No, not necessarily. Not necessarily at all. It's not about the number of pitches a kid throws through the course of a game. It's how the number of pitches are distributed and how many of those pitches are, and you brought up a really good comment about a minute ago. How many of these pitches are stress pitches?
Price had a lot of them.
And they're
a lot of people on base.
Through the game, there were some stress pitches that he threw. If there's 2 outs and there's a runner at first base, that's not a stress pitch. This guy at first base.
It isn't a 0-0 game because you still one mistake away from, we're in trouble. So when it's 0-0 and every pitch really matters, that runner on puts that stress.
That game, that run scored in the 3rd inning. So from the 3rd inning on, in a 1-0 game, if there's 2 outs and a runner at first base, I'll give you a great example. Morocco leads off the inning in the 4th inning with a walk. Aiden Shepard gets a called 3rd strike, so that's the first out. Are some of those pitches stress pitches? Not really. And there's only a runner at first base. That's not stress. If you get 2 guys on, okay, now we're starting to get into a little bit of hot water. Golchinski reaches on a fielder's choice in which Morocco is erased at second base. Are there any stress pitches to Paul or to Phil Fox striking out? Hell no, there's 2 outs. What are you going to do? If you give up a base hit, okay, now you got a runner at third base. Now we're getting into a difficult situation.
Phil Fox was one of their best hitters last night. So you're not just, you're pitching to him with 2 outs, but you're also pitching to the guy that's been seeing you so well that night.
He had only had 1 hit in his only at bat.
He went 2 for 3.
I understand, but that second hit was after he struck out. So you have to look at this and go, all right, the kid went 1 for 1. Am I pitching him differently because he only got 1 hit in as many at bats? Who cares? This game's early. I'm not worried if he gets a base hit. Okay, you got a runner at first and third. Now we're going to talk stress. Andrew Russell led off the 5th inning. Base hit. He was immediately erased at second base when Will Ray grounded into a 6 unassisted force play. Actually, it was a double play. He grounded into a 6-3 double play. So 2 outs, nobody on. Havrilla got a walk. All right, no big deal. Greg Johnson, base hit, runners at the corners. All right, now we're into the stress routine. Chase Franken draws a walk, and Matt Shepard pops out to the center fielder. I don't know how many pitches were thrown in those 2 at-bats.
What inning was that?
That was in the 5th inning.
See, that's late in the game, too.
That was in the 5th inning. I don't know how many pitches that were thrown, but those pitches were stress pitches.
Those were also late pitch. He threw 102 pitches total.
Yes.
So in the 5th inning, you got to think he's at least at 70, 75 pitches at that point. So he's already taxing a little bit.
Not
from pitch count.
Not necessarily, because he
Pitch
retired.
count's already high.
Not necessarily. He retired the side in the first inning, and I think he did it in under 10 pitches. He only gave up a base hit in the second inning.
If you take 102 and you divide that by 6 2/3, which is 6.6,
A little over 15.
it's about 16 and a half. If I did the math right.
It's 15 for 7 innings. 6 into 102 would be.
Yeah, it's a little over 15.
Yeah, 6 into 102 is 17 pitches. 7 into 102 is 15 pitches. But up until the 5th inning, he wasn't stressed at all. In the 6th inning, a leadoff base hit by Morocco. 2 consecutive outs. Phil Fox gets a base hit, puts runners at first and second. Andrew Russell comes to the plate. Okay, here's another stress opportunity. The second one. And you got the stress pitch for the second one. Ends the 6th inning. 7th inning, he retires the first 2 guys, and I believe he did it in 5 pitches, and then he's taken out of the ballgame. At the end of the day, and I understand where people are saying, with the high pitch count, I understand where people want to sit back and say, hey, this kid has X amount of pitches, you need to take him out of the game. You can't look at it like that. You look at what has he done through the course of the game. Has he thrown a high number of pitches for 2 consecutive innings to accumulate that total to 102? If he has, okay. He should be taken out of the ballgame at that point because, again, if he's accumulated a high number of pitches in the 5th and 6th inning, maybe you think about taking him out of the game. But he retired the first 2 batters in the 7th inning. He deserved to have an opportunity to finish what he started, and that rule is garbage for the reason that I just gave.
He loaded the bases in the 5th, right?
He did load the bases in the 5th inning,
and
yes.
And in the 6th inning?
There was 2 outs, a runner at first base. Fox got the base hit to put runners at first and second. Then he struck out Russell.
So he had 5 runners left on in 2 innings. In the 7th inning, I get it. He gets the first 2. He's cooking.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a 1-0 game, and you're thinking, man, he's starting to labor. He's given up a couple of hits in the last couple innings, and he's also at 102 pitches. And you also got a guy that's fresh, comes in, throws 2 pitches, game's over.
Yeah, Tarka came in, and he probably should have been out of the inning without facing Chase Franken. Johnson reached on the throwing error by Cato, and then that brought in Chase, which brought in an interesting dilemma because, again, the last thing you want to do is face the top of the batting order with somebody on base, albeit the tying runs at first, and you'd need an extra base hit to tie the ball game, assuming that Johnson is able to score from first base on an extra base hit. But I will just say I understand how people want to say the rule is there for a reason. You're just not interpreting the rule the way it should be interpreted.
And at the end of the day, I mean, it's tough because, a part of me thinks that he deserves to go finish what he started because he's pitching so well, but at the same time, it's an exhibition game at the end of the day.
No, I get it.
And you're just trying to protect this kid's arm. I mean,
I get it.
102 pitches is a lot. It's a lot, especially when they didn't play a high school season.
Yeah, that's the only argument there where I am now. If someone sits back and tells me, hey, you didn't have a high school baseball season, he's only thrown 2 starts or whatever, and we talked about this early on before we went on the air. DJ brought up an interesting point where some coaches would sit back and go, well, he's had an awful lot of bullpen sessions. Bullpen sessions are not remotely close to being the same as pitching in a game. Not even close. David Ardsma, who pitched in the major leagues, he was in the Mariners organization. You want to talk about a guy that could have a PhD in pitching. He has really, really good points, and he was the first one to bring my attention to the fact of it's not about the number of pitches that a kid throws. It's the amount of pressure pitches and the amount of pitches based upon the 2 innings before. if he has a high
to
number
your
of
point,
pitches.
I bet Austin Price's most stressful pitches probably came in the 5th and 6th innings.
I agree with that. I agree with that. But then when you have the first two guys out on a relatively few amount of pitches, that's where I'm like, oh, come on. You're going to let this kid finish what he started. And now if he gets someone on base, yes, take him out of the game and bring in the reliever and let's get it done.
I bet Coach Taylor was probably thinking, okay, we have 2 outs now. He's had a great performance. He's at 102 pitches. He's over 100. We're up 1-0. There's 2 outs. There's really no benefit to making him pitch maybe 5 or 6 or 7 more pitches. Let's bring in a guy that's fresh and just end this game and not take any chances and then not put any more stress on this kid's arm because you're probably going to need him later in the season.
Well, and look, I mean, you roll the dice and you wound up getting a 7, which they rolled the dice all game long, and all game long they were hitting that 7.
Right.
So it just, 7 or 11, they were doing the craps thing and just hitting 7 or 11 the entire game. It was a well played game. It was a well pitched game on both ends. And it was fun to broadcast. It really was.
But you said at the top, we're seeing more and more games not get stopped because of the time rule. So these kids are starting to get used to running off the field, getting off in a timely fashion. And we said it would. We said it would take about a week and a half, 2 weeks to kind of get these kids used to the time rule. And we're finally starting to see less games affected by it.
Yeah, I finally broadcast 2 games that didn't have a time effect. Now, one was a mercy rule game, and the other one was a very well-pitched game that 1-0, 7 innings, and the 7 innings took about an hour and 45 minutes. Now, the damn shame of it would have been had the Astro Falcons scored in the top of the 7th inning, and the prospects were batting in the bottom of the 7th inning.
Were they pretty close to 2 hours? I mean,
about a minute and 45. So let's say that Chase Franken gets that line drive a foot higher off the ground, and he puts it over the head of the second baseman, goes up the right center field alley, and Johnson scores. That puts the game tied. Shepard, good at bat, but he winds up making the 3rd out. So you go to the bottom of the 7th inning, the game is 1-1, and now we're talking about low 1 hour and 50 minute stuff. Now you're 7, 8, 9 minutes away from the 2-hour time limit, and here are the prospects batting in the bottom of the 7th inning. And let's say that
the Falcons would have been.
Yeah, and
tied it.
And let's say that the prospects have runners at second and third, 2 outs, and the inning has been
timeout.
High pitches and whatnot, and the kids gets into the batter's box, and the 2-hour limit comes up. Oh. No, this would be a conversation where I'd be pissed.
Because it's still up to the umpires, right? It's umpires' discretion. I feel like if the 2-hour clock went up, there are runners on second and third, and they were in the middle of an at-bat.
See, it's not the umpire's discretion.
It is, because DJ said the other day that it's up to they've left it up to the umpires.
See, I was never told that.
It's 2 hours, and then let's finish this at-bat. If you don't get a hit, then we'll be done.
I was never told that. The note that we got from the head of the umpires never told us that.
Did it say specifically that it's not in your discretion? It is.
It's a 2-hour drop dead. Once it's 2 hours, that's it. The game's over. And again, that scenario, and thank God we did not have that scenario.
That umpire would have been like 2 hours.
Yeah, I'd been like, no, I want to finish this game. And trust me, there was a game. A 14U game.
Just click it back a couple
minutes.
Yeah,
exactly. There was a 14U game that I was the base umpire, and I was in charge of doing the clock. And it was a tie game, 2 outs, nobody on, and the final out was made right at 2 hours. Mm-hmm. Look, and baseball games should never end in a tie.
That's a little bit different because it's the end of the inning, so you have to play the whole other inning to try. But I'm saying if there's runners on second and third and you're in an at-bat, and the time goes out, I don't know if the umpire would have the guts to.
I would be truthfully, there's no way I stop a game.
Right? Especially if it's like in the middle of the bat, like you're at a 1-1 pitch or whatever.
Yeah.
No way.
I can't do that. Now, if the rule states it's a 2-hour drop dead regardless of what happens, all right, let's take it a step further. What happens if the ball is hit? 2-hour time limit is up.
Oh, no,
as the guy is running the bases.
You let that go. It's like
you have to.
It's like the shot in a
exactly.
Left the hands.
Exactly. Did it leave the hand as the clock went off?
If the pitch is thrown, that pitch counts. So if it leaves the
you would think hands. This is the reason why time clocks in the game of baseball suck. They just suck. And I understand. And again, we live in a COVID-19 world. I get it. I understand that stuff has to be done.
Got to make sacrifices to be on the field. And,
could you imagine?
But the difference between 2 hours and 2 hours, 2 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. Could you imagine if Rob Manfred sat back and said,
"It'll never happen.
Hey, we're going to put a 2-hour and 45-minute limit on every single game, and it's a drop dead. Doesn't matter how far along the game is. In 2 hours and 45 minutes, we're telling everyone the game is over."
I'll tell you what, if they had a situation where they had to play in a couple parks and that's it, that would be happening because they would have to get the next game started. That's why it's happening at Cedar Park, because they have multiple games.
Because you have multiple games.
So if Major League Baseball was in a situation where they couldn't play in all the parks, then that would have been something that was probably on the table. We need a time frame, so we make sure this game is over so the next game can start, or else we're going to be host.
I got news for you. In the state of California and the state of Texas, the cases are going through the roof right now.
What about the hospitalizations and the mortality rates?
Well, and the intensive care units are being used up in parts of Texas, but again, with it going through the roof, there could be a opportunity where the governors of these two states, and I don't think it's going to happen. I hope and pray it doesn't.
But I mean,
the governors can sit back and go, "Hey, by the way, we're not open for business now."
Did the California governor retract his no sports statement that he made a couple months ago?
I hope he did,
because I never heard anything after that.
Yeah,
like I heard he said that, and then I heard the California College Association.
Well, they retracted it pretty quickly.
Okay,
yeah. So. Because the Pac-12 was going to be out of business this fall.
It would have been, 3 teams in the Pac-12 are a part of that?
Cal, Stanford, and USC and UCLA. So
I don't think all 4 of them were part of that pact. I think one of them was out of it.
No, all 4 of them are in the Pac-12.
They're all 4 in the Pac-12, but I don't think all 4 of them are in that. What is it? The California College?
That would be Stanford.
Yeah.
The USC is the University of Southern California. UCLA is University of California at Los Angeles. And Cal Berkeley. University of California at Berkeley. So
Stanford would have been fine, but those 3 would have been no football.
Yeah, absolutely. And you try telling...
And those are 3 of the most historic programs in the Pac-12 anyway.
Yeah, try telling USC and UCLA fans, oh, by the way, you're not playing football this year. You might as well just tell the city of Los Angeles...
They would have went and played in a different state.
Oh, my God, absolutely they would have. Absolutely they would have. They would have went straight to Vegas and...
They would have called up like Arizona State and been like, hey, can we use your field?
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Speaking of, and we got to go to the pros, the Hall of Fame game was canceled yesterday.
And we all knew that was coming.
And it was coming, but is this a prelude of things to come? I want to warn a lot of people.
It might just be like they might cut a week of preseason. I don't think it's got any right now. I don't think it has any effects on the regular season, the start time. But they might cut a week of preseason games.
I want to warn a lot of people that there is a substantial difference between trying to get a baseball game played and trying to get a football game played. Baseball, you're always going to have that contact from the batter and the catcher and the home plate umpire, assuming the home plate umpire is calling the balls and strikes from there. To the B-League's credit, they're allowing the umpires to get away from there, which would only have the batter and the catcher. When a first baseman is holding the first base runner on, a little bit of a thing there. Everything else spread out well past 6 foot. No big deal. Football is entirely different. It is a closed contact sport where you have offensive and defensive linemen that are lined up inches from each other. The line of scrimmage, guys are lined up inches from each other. The linebackers, the corners, the safeties, the wide receivers, the quarterback lined up right behind the center. Now you can go shotgun, no big deal. You can have the running backs with nowhere near the quarterback. You can do a lot of things in football except for the fact you're always going to have the problem of the offensive and defensive linemen are inches away from each other vertically and horizontally. So it is, it's going to be very difficult to play football.
Everything you just said, you cannot play football unless you take the social distancing rules and say,
exactly.
You just can't do it. You cannot do it. You can try it on the side. You can social distance on the sideline. You can social distance the fans. You can social distance the press box. But between the lines, the 11 players, 22 players on the field, you have to be able to take that social distancing and saying.
And here's the thing. Yes, there are some states where we've improved enough to lax some rules and lax a little bit, but nobody's laxed the social distancing aspect of it. That's still part of it. The Hall of Fame game cancellation, I completely agree with it. Not take away the game for a second. You're talking about a bunch of old men, by and large, that are going to be meeting in one place. A lot of guys in their 70s, some guys in their 80s, and they're all coming back to Canton and taking part in a Hall of Fame celebration to welcome in the new inductees. Completely understand why you're taking that and canceling it, because the very people that are the highest prone to this virus that does not have a cure for right now or a vaccine, the highest percentage of people affected by this are the very same people that you're hoping come back to Canton to welcome in the new inductees. Older people. So I understand from the enshrinement ceremony, I completely get that. The football game, I completely understand that.
So they canceled the enshrinement ceremony?
They canceled everything.
Because that you can do virtually, at least.
You can do it virtually.
I feel like they're still going to have like a Hall of Fame show, and they're still going to induct those people and have their...
No, they're waiting until 2021, and they're going to have a huge thing.
You could have still put on a show for that.
Yeah, but I understand why they're doing that, because, look, you want this person to be enshrined like everyone else. You want them to have their moment in the sun in Canton, Ohio. Now, assuming it's sunny in August, but you know what I mean. You want these guys to have that moment where they're having their acceptance speech into the greatest honor a football player can ever be given.
And you can do that virtually. You can have your speech.
You can, but again, every single person that has ever gone into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, except for the dumbass in Terrell Owens that didn't want to go into the Hall of Fame because
he felt extremely stiff time and time again. He was sick of it. So
he felt he was stiffed because he thinks he's a top 5 wide receiver, which he isn't.
He was stiffed because they looked at his stuff off the field and said that matters, but then looked at other people's stuff off the field and said that doesn't matter. That's why I was always upset. But like the fact that even Sharper was on the ballot at all, and we're not letting Terrell Owens in the Hall of Fame, that got me upset a couple years ago.
Well, I mean, he's on the ballot, but there's no way he's in the Hall of Fame.
But if this guy's even on the ballot at all, and you're saying that because Terrell Owens was a little bit of a nuisance and caused a couple problems in the locker room, you're going to say he's not allowed in the Hall of Fame, but this guy that's in jail is allowed on the ballot? It didn't sit right with me when I heard that.
Well, it's the same thing when Modell was put on the ballot. People in Cleveland lost their mind. All right, let's go to the phone lines. Rich, you're on YSNLive.com. What's up, brother?
Good afternoon, young man Ron.
What's up, kid?
Not bad. Is Anthony with you?
Yeah.
Hi, Anthony.
Hey, Rich.
Hey, I didn't make it down to St. last Sunday. Those late afternoon games, it's just too darn hot for me out there, brother.
Yeah, well, the second game, we had lightning all over the place. And again, in the rules are If there's lightning in the area, you take the kids off the field, and you got to wait 30 minutes, and then if another piece of lightning comes down, then you got to restart the clock. Well, we had to restart the clock 4 or 5 times, and then rains came, so that was the end of that.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, when I was doing the Little League thing out in Hubbard, when we heard thunder, the kids we took them off the field. If you're hearing thunder, that means it's close.
Well, if you hear thunder, that means lightning struck. You may not have seen it, but the thunder means that there was a lightning strike somewhere. You might not have seen it, but again, there's a thunder, so you take the kids off the field. Absolutely.
You know, I remember when we were kids. The teachers and your parents. Yeah, when you see lightning, you count 1,001, 1,002.
Yep.
And that's how many miles away it is. Well, now it's when you do that, it's half that distance.
Yeah. When you do that and you immediately hear thunder after lightning, you know you're screwed.
Anyway, what's your schedule over there this weekend? You out on the field or what?
I have no games this weekend.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I got no games. My nephew turns 30, so yeah, we'll have we're hoping to. I'm hoping to get together with him tonight if I can.
Oh, look out! There goes the neighborhood.
Yeah, well, there you go.
All right, buddy. Well, it's good talk with you, Anthony. You guys have a great week and enjoy yourself, Juan, and be safe.
Hey, Rich, I got to ask you: the Hall of Fame, the Hall of Fame canceling their Hall of Fame game and the Hall of Fame induction ceremonies. Does this kind of send a warning signal to you in terms of this might be a thing of importance the later the preseason is, or is it just one of those things where you're really not concerned?
Well, I am concerned. I've been to one Hall of Fame game. One of the guys that had the largest tailgate tent played for the Browns back in the day. He was a linebacker. His name was Jim Winars.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, he had a food brokerage, and I had one. So he invited me down there, and they had the best of everything. It was a wonderful, wonderful experience. Okay? Haven't been to one since, but I got to tell you, look at the numbers coming out. Florida's pumping out 4,000 new cases a day. Ohio's pumping a bunch. Everybody's pumping out more COVID cases. Everybody thinks that, well, now that, we're allowed to go out and be free again, people went back to their old ways, not washing hands, not using sanitizers. And now especially when you're out in public wearing a mask. That's like, it's okay now. Let's just go party. Let's go out and, the roads are filled out in Boardman. You know what it's like out in Canfield. You can't get out on 224. So, I think this is, round 2 is going to be worse than round 1, and that's pretty sad. But, I've been retired and social distancing is not a problem for me. But for the people who, for the people who enjoy, sporting events and hitting bars and stuff and restaurants, this is a big deal, And I just don't trust the situation as I see it, man. The human race has let me down on the first time, and it looks like we're going to get a repeat, pal.
Yeah, you just have to be responsible when you're out. You still have to social distance. I just started wearing a mask again when you're out in public, and I just think that I know it's a pain in the backside to wear a mask, but with the cases going up, this is just a general reminder. And I understand we're not getting nearly as many deaths anymore. And the hospitalizations are down in some cases, but it's just a general reminder that we're still not out of the woods with this, and we still need to be proactive.
Being responsible and keeping your stuff clean, your hands, your face.
Yep.
It sounds like it's too much work for people, and I sure in hell wouldn't be sitting in no Hall of Fame game in Canton. Not for free this year, but I think that that's going to send a warning signal to the entire season. I'm not sure how this is going to pan out, Ron. And I really don't give a rat's ass about baseball. Who cares?
Yeah, well, the baseball screwed themselves, and there's a lot of people that are have a really tough stance to Major League Baseball, and I understand that. I'll be curious to see when the season starts in late July how many people are actually going to be tuning in to watch these games.
Well, there won't be any record breaking this year, buddy.
No, boy, you got that right.
And if anybody hits 30 home runs in this shortened season, is that an asterisk for equaling 60 or what?
Probably not.
All right, buddy. You take care. Have a great weekend.
All right, man. Take it easy. All right, 330-886-0813, the number to call. Rich is one of those guys that was mad as hell at Major League Baseball. I get it. I feel his pain. Speaking of pain, Jason Kokrak is going to be cut for a second consecutive week. He just shot a 1-under to go along with the even that he shot in the first round. Kokrak is 1 under through 2 rounds. He's going to get cut again, second straight week.
How's my boy Dustin Johnson doing?
I don't know, but DeChambeau Dustin Johnson is 7 under. He shot a 6 under today.
All right.
So he's in good shape. Let's go to the phone lines real quick before we do anything. You're on YSNLive.com. What's going on?
This is Brett Taylor. DJ told me to call in.
Brett.
Hey, Brett, what's up, brother?
What's up? How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good.
Good.
Brett, congratulations on the win last night.
Hey, Anthony.
I'm here too. I'm your buddy. What did it feel like last night? That game was such a good pitcher's duel going through it. It felt like every pitch was kind of high stress. What did it feel like from a coach's perspective to go through that game?
I tell you, I can't say enough about obviously the Astros. They're just a fantastic team, and I have total respect for Coach Fletcher and their organization. I mean, they're obviously loaded. So I just told the boys, hey, you got nothing to lose. Go out, play hard, have fun, and let's try to get the W.
The mentality of what you just said. I mean, that's. You on paper you can always be overmatched, but games are never won or lost on paper. It's all about character, and to your guys' credit, nobody was shaking or nobody was intimidated. They just went out, played their game, and that's essentially if you want to beat a team of high quality. That's what you do. You don't care about what they're doing. You're taking care of your own business, and if you do, you win more games than you lose.
Yeah, and that's a big thing. Like when we put these teams together, that's a big thing that I look for with some of the kids is when I'm looking at kids and we do tryouts and putting teams together. I look at not only like their physical abilities and how well they play, but a big thing that we like to look for is just their mental capacity and their ability to handle stress and pressure situations and how they work with other players. And I think that's big. And when you create that type of mentality in the dugout, you can do a lot more with the baseball team than if you've got a team full of superstars sometimes.
Talk about Austin Price and the kind of game he had and how proud you are of him and the pitching performance he put out.
Well, two things there. I tell you what. First of all, Audie, we call him Audie. I've been coaching Audie since he was 8 years old. So, and I can't say enough. And going back into the mentality, Austin is he's the type of kid where you can put him into any pressure situation, and he always stays cool and calm, and he handled that just absolutely. He really shined last night. He was spectacular. But not enough credit goes to my man behind the plate there, David Leslie. David he called a fantastic game, and called for the right pitches in certain situations. David not only he's a good catcher, he's our 4-hitter. Struggled a little bit at the plate yesterday, but he did a fantastic job calling the game, and he's a very intelligent kid.
Yeah, I thought that Leslie called an absolutely fantastic game. Let me ask you, was he in charge of most of the calls, or did you call some of those from the dugout and relay them over?
No, absolutely not. I actually, I'm a big believer of, because it's about the kids and developing them, and I'm a big believer in letting them call the game. Couple reasons, obviously they see things much, 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 much better than we do from behind the plate. And for me to sit there, and David, he's another one. David's been with me for a long time, and we've had these conversations. Okay, well, why did you throw that pitch in that situation? Why did you do this? If there was a mistake made, and that's where the learning comes in. And he did a phenomenal job. So
you got Shane Cato on first with 2 outs, and what a great decision to send him to second. Tell me, was that your decision, or was that Shane Cato taking it upon himself to get a good jump and run?
Well, one thing is Shane's not the fastest kid in the world. To his credit, he's got great footwork. And he's also a kid that's really intelligent. Like, he helps himself out at shortstop, understanding where the pitch is going to be, and he puts himself into good positions. But then on the bases, he's also a great base runner. So we were in a position, obviously we needed to move runners over. I looked at it as we were in a situation, Luca's been struggling a little bit at the beginning of the season, and I thought, well, if Shane gets out, if we take this gamble and Shane gets out, no harm, because we got the top of lineup coming up. So I said, you know what, let's take the gamble. And knowing that Shane he's a good base runner, because there's, as you guys know, there's a difference between, you can be fast, but you could still be a bad base runner. I've had guys who were super, super fast, but they'd still get thrown out in that situation because they're just terrible base runners. And Shane got a great jump. And that was the other thing. I'm like, okay, well, he threw 2 strikes, and I hadn't seen a slider, and so I thought, you know what, I'm going to take a gamble here. This is a perfect situation. I'm gonna hopefully he's going to throw a slider to help Shane out a little bit, but I think he ended up throwing a fastball, and it just worked out perfectly. And then Jeremy came up, and it's baseball. Like you guys were talking, the Astros had. They hit the ball well. They made good contact, and fortunately for us, they hit it to all the wrong places.
Yeah, what a great jump by Cato to steal second base. And I was telling Anthony and our listeners on the Friday edition of Running Point, when you're facing a guy that's throwing in the low 90s, if he throws a fastball, it is so important to get that jump because – obviously everyone knows a fastball comes in a lot faster than an off-speed ball. I mean, that's why they call it a fastball.
Right.
And that allows the catcher, depending on the location of the pitch, that allows the catcher to grab the ball, fire a strike to whoever's covering second base. And for Cato to get a gigantic jump, which he did, and he was able to steal second base without a problem, that just made it even that much more better for Cruiseweiser, because if he puts bat on the ball and puts it in the outfield, there's a good chance that Cato scores, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, and that's exactly. I mean, you hit the nail on the head, and Shane got a great jump, and with as fast as Bickerstaff was throwing, that's why I'm like, okay, I'm going to take the gamble here. I'm hoping he's throwing that slider on this pitch. Maybe it's in the dirt. Maybe it's going to make it tougher for the catcher. But you know what? It's a close game. Those are the chances you got to take. If you don't, you're going to sit there after the game and say, well, shoulda, coulda, woulda.
And I have no problems with that because, like you said, the top of the batting order is up already. You flipped the lineup. So even if he gets thrown out at second base and it's the final out, you get the top of the lineup due up in the 4th inning. So it's a win-win for you, regardless if Cato steals second base. You still have the top of the batting order due up regardless.
Yeah, and that's pretty much what I was thinking and hoping. And then obviously if it worked, then Jeremy comes up. He's been swinging a hot bat, and so is Clay and Jared. I thought, we're going to take the chance. So it ends up, thank goodness for us, it ended up working out.
I don't know if you've been listening, but we were talking about the pitch count thing and taking Austin Price out with 6 2/3 and 102 pitches. From your perspective as the coach, can you just tell us kind of what went through your mind in that situation? He gets the 2 outs in the 7th, and you decide to end his night there.
Well, to Austin's credit, Austin's been he's been throwing since he was young. I mean, he's been pitching a long time, and I've known him for that for that much time. This season, one of the things that we don't talk about with pitchers is we don't talk about leg strength. And, the biggest thing with these kids is to focus on the strength of the legs, using the legs, because the arm, if you really think about it, the arm ends up becoming secondary, and it's all about the legs. It's the same thing with hitting. And so he just spent an ungodly amount of time in the gym this year, squatting, deadlifting. I would go to the gym because I have to. It's my only free time. It's 5 a.m, and he would be in there with Jared Mindek, just punching it out, getting ready, and just that's the one thing that I'm looking at as a coach, and I'm looking at his leg strength. I'm looking to see how well is he driving, and he stayed pretty much consistent. He did have the 5th. I started to get a little bit worried, and we were getting up to like the 70. 80 pitch count, and I started warming up a couple of the relievers, making sure that those kids were ready, and trying to think who was going to do the best in certain situation. And we started stuck with them, and then going into the last inning, the pitch count, which the pitch count rule is 105, which I have no problem with that. I think it's if it's the rule, ahead of time, and everybody's got to go by it. I think, and that's something that the league started doing this year, was the pitch count, and I think it was a great idea. But going into that situation, I said, you know what, he's doing so good. Let's see what he's got left, and he's just pitching so well. And we got to the point where he got to 102. I didn't want to put another batter in front of him, because I absolutely hate bringing in a pitcher in the middle of a count. If you know what I mean.
I agree with that. Yeah. So you're basing on the fact of my guy. If he doesn't get him out in 3 pitches, I got to take him out of the game. So let's just take him out of the game right now. I get that.
And then the other part is the gamesmanship of the game. The other thing that I think about is, okay, well, and I know I was the home team, but I know, like, right now I've got 102. What do they got? And I didn't want to create that situation either. So we just stopped it at 102 and brought Brock in. And Brock was like our ace last year. He had a labrum issue in the off season, and he's been cleared to go about 45 pitches. And just knowing his ability, I said, you know what, let's go get these last 2 out. Let's this last out. And that last play with Cato, Shane, again, like I said, Shane's footwork is phenomenal. He did a great job. That is a very, very, very difficult play, because he was going to his right, and then trying to throw to his left. He did a great job. He got his chest squared with the first baseman, but he just kind of threw that ball into the ground a little bit. And Jared, who I tell you what, Jared Vindek is probably one of the best first basemen that you will ever see, and he always gets those. And so when that ball when it flipped up out of his glove, I was like, oh, I said, here we go. But Brock did a great job, and the last thing I'm thinking is, okay, here's Franken. This is going to be a tough out. And first pitch was hit right at Wiesen.
Yeah, I was wondering what was going through your mind, because I had said, and I remember the quote when Johnson got on board because the error. My quote was, "Here comes trouble, and his name is Chase Franken."
Oh yeah. And you know what? It's always those. In baseball, the ball has its own mind, and it's when you don't get that second out, it always. Unfortunately, this time it did, and it always comes back to haunt you. And we just, Fortunately, he hit that one right at Clay, who also Clay struggled with the plate a little bit yesterday, but I don't know if you guys know, Clay's only 16, but he is a phenomenal athlete, and probably he's an eventual D1 player himself.
Tell me, when Chase hit that ball, did your heart stop for a second? Because we said it before. I mean, he hit that ball on the screws, and if it goes anywhere else, it's a game-tying base hit. But lucky for you guys, it went right to that second base position. Did your heart stop for a minute?
Say that again, Anthony?
Did your heart stop for a minute when you heard the contact?
Oh, yeah.
Because it was...
Oh, yeah. Well, when you play the Astros, when you play that team, anytime the bat comes off, the ball comes off the bat, your heart stops. They just, you know what? To their credit, just have an amazing team. Coach Pletcher, I can't say enough good things. They just the ball bounced our way, and that's, it was a good day for the prospects, and that's all you can say about that.
Okay, we got an 18-game season. You've seen them once already. You'll cycle through the schedule one more time, and then if you're fortunate enough to get them in the playoffs, then you would see them another time. But if any of these remaining, or the one remaining game that you have left in the regular season is anything like the game last night, everyone and their brother should come down to Scene Park and get popcorn to watch this game, because last night I defy anyone to sit back and tell me that wasn't a great game. And this just proves without a shadow of a doubt, you don't need to score a lot of runs to see great baseball.
No, and that's, and I've had this conversation with DJ on the show. That's my favorite kind of baseball too. Good defense, great defense, great pitching, and that's what the game's all about. And I can't, unfortunately, I can't stand the game like it is today at the professional level. I love to go back to the '80s and the run and gun and good defensive baseball.
You and me both. That's I'm good with that. Anthony's shaking his head. He's a millennial.
I never shook my head once. Hey, watch the tapes. Watch the tapes.
No, I might have stretched the truth a little bit. He was just looking at me.
The Royals were good in the '80s. Take me back.
No, this is true.
Take me back.
This is true. And as an Indians fan, I'm like, I don't want to see the '80s. No, thank you.
And of course, I'm a big Cardinals fan. I spent my summers in St. Louis.
There you go.
And so I'm still sore about that '85 series and that call at first base.
Britt, you still had Game 7 and you blew it. So.
But yeah.
All I know is the meltdown that Joaquin Andujar had in Game 7 was priceless.
Oh yeah, absolutely, that was.
Hey, Skip, tremendous job last night by your kids, and more importantly, with the victory, you guys are back over 500 at 4-3, and that just has to be a huge shot in the arm as you play your final 11 regular season games.
It is, because it's with shortened season a little bit, every game's important, and even though even though it is the Astros, a loss still hurts, because there is only so many games. So yesterday was, with that being said, yesterday was absolutely a huge win.
Hey, congrats again.
Thanks, Sean. Thanks, Anthony.
Britt, before you go, I just want one more question, because that was such a big win, such a momentous win. How do you guys mentally prepare for the very next game and make sure that you guys aren't too high and you have that layover, hangover game where you kind of don't perform in the next time out?
Well, and that's what, and I made a huge mistake after the game, because the boys were so excited and they kind of ran together, and we need to keep the social distancing thing, and I kind of screwed that up. But the biggest thing that I wanted to say afterwards is, hey, look, guys, today's big, but tomorrow's just as big. Tomorrow's Dura Edge, and we need to, we'll talk about, what we did right, what we did wrong, but tomorrow we need to get focused back on that next game, because every game is just as important. Doesn't matter, because the parity up there this year, I mean, every team, and for us, because we're young, we're almost our entire team is 17. I think we've got two 18-year-olds. But every game up there, even for some of the teams that are struggling right now, every game up there is tough. So you have to, you can't let a game like that, a great finish like that yesterday, you can't let that interrupt the next day, because if you do, you're just going to keep towing that line at 500. You just need to come back out, stay focused, and swing the bats. But the other thing was Cal Bickerstaff. He's just absolutely amazing. He was fantastic too. So, having done that, I'm hoping they're ready for today.
Hey, best of luck to you tonight, Skip.
Thanks, Ron.
You got it. I'll see you. All right, 330-886-0813, and I'll flat out say it. You don't win tonight, the game last night doesn't mean a damn thing anymore.
You just washed it out, is what you did.
You washed it out.
But that's such a dangerous thing when you especially when you're a young team, like you said. There's a tendency to get a little bit too high after a big win like that, and you've got to bring yourself back down to even keel before the game tonight. So we'll see if the prospects can stay focused and go win against. We said it before. Dura Edge got to get a big momentous win too, because they were trailing most of the game, and then they scored 6 runs in the last 2 innings to win 7-3.
I would even argue, Anthony, that this game tonight is way more important than last night, because now, if you lose this game tonight, any momentum that you had after the victory over the Astro Falcons, gone.
And now everyone's looking at you because you just beat the big boys.
That's it.
So all the eyes just went right to you. And
exactly.
If you don't show up and back that up, then the eyes are going to go right off of you and back to the Astro Falcons.
That's why, you get a victory over a team you weren't expected to win, and no disrespect to the prospects, they were not expected to win last night. All right, you get the victory over a previously undefeated team. Now, as you said, everyone is looking at prospects saying, wait a second, these are the guys that just knocked off the Astro Falcons. Let's see if they're for real. This game is a million times more important than the game you played last night, because if you can win tonight, now you have some momentum to really have, in a very short season, you have an opportunity to get on a roll and be a really, really tough out when the playoffs start up pretty soon.
This would have been a must-win either way, because if you lose against the Falcons, then you lose 2 in a row if you lost tonight. So either way, this was a really important
But
game.
now that you've won this game, this is a huge, even bigger than last night. Let's get back at it. You're on YSN Live. What's going on? Maybe not. Okay, he hung up.
How rude.
Wooed.
Rude.
As Barbara Walters once said, that is wooed. Very wooed. All right, 330-886-0813. We're going to take a timeout because we haven't done that yet. And we'll pay some bills which need to be paid. And we'll take some more phone calls. 330-886-0813. It is a Friday edition of Running Point on YSNLive.com.
21
Good evening,
News.
and thank you for joining us.
Let's get right to our top more story experienced tonight. Reporters.
A new Wilmington restaurant.
GM Lordstown.
Telling more local stories.
We'll look at
Baby
efforts
boy
to
is
curb
recovering from a broken.
Around our
Good
valley.
afternoon. We are here in Youngstown, right up.
Because you expect.
It's important for everyone. No place like home.
More local news.
In Mercer County Court.
21 News is our valley's #1 local news.
Welcome home to a home made homier with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. Inspiration starts at BairdBrothers.com and is turned into reality when high-quality hardwoods are delivered right to your home. Baird Brothers has the latest design trends, shiplap and skinny lap interior siding, antique oak rustic flooring, and, well, you'll find them all at BairdBrothers.com. Ordered easily, delivered conveniently, enjoyed comfortably. BairdBrothers.com.
Hello, I'm Greg Burbick with G. Burbick Farms. For the last 100 years, my family has farmed in Columbiana and Mahoning counties. I began raising cattle in 1996 with the goal of providing a better product for you and your family on the dinner table. Our grass-fed and grain-supplemented Black Angus beef are raised with no hormones, steroids, or antibiotics. We're known for our hometown-friendly service and incredible tasting products. We're locally owned and have customers across the tri-state area. Our products go from our farm to your family. Stop by our farm on New Buffalo Road or visit us on the web at gburbickfarms.com. Don't forget to like us on Facebook. G. Burbick Farms, it just tastes better.
It's a Friday edition of Running Points on YSNLive.com. Ron Potesta with you, alongside Anthony Hartwig, with you till 3 o'clock. It's a phone-in Friday edition of Running Point. Give us a shout, 330-886-0813. That's 330-886-0813. We were starting to talk about the National Football League and the cancellation of the Hall of Fame game, and Rich had called in and does not have a really good feeling about the upcoming football season. And I got to be honest, if the NFL were to play right now, they wouldn't be able to play right now, and hopefully.
But no one's able to play right now, other than NASCAR and golf. I mean,
well, baseball can play. Baseball could play right now, but they. You know, they screwed the pooch with their insanely stupid demands.
I don't know. I mean, let's just say they were on course to play. I mean, the Phillies had to shut down their, so that might have derailed them. Even if they made that deal, they were on schedule to play next week. Let's say they made that deal when it first came out. They were on schedule to play on July 4th. That might have derailed them a couple weeks because of that breakout in Philadelphia and a couple of other.
Well, it wasn't in Philadelphia. It was in their spring training facilities.
They would have been there right now, getting ready for the July 4th opening day.
See, that's not a guarantee either, because the Indians had been saying, "We're not going back to Goodyear. We'll do all our stuff in Cleveland. We don't need to sweat our ass off in Arizona when it's going to be 175 degrees at 9 o'clock in the morning."
Are they going to their spring training facilities?
No, they're going to stay in Cleveland.
So next week they're going to do the spring training in.
Yeah, they're not going to Arizona.
Is spring training just going to be interleague scrimmages for? I mean, they're not doing like actual spring.
I don't think that. I don't believe they're going to be playing any games against anybody except for their own
inter squad scrimmages.
Sure,
right?
and that's probably how they're going to handle things. Now, I thought the Detroit Tigers did something very interesting, where they said that they were going to have their minor league kids start working out in Toledo. Now, minor league baseball's done for the year. That is pretty much a foregone conclusion that you're not going to have minor league baseball, even though here we are in late June, an agreement has been reached. Conceivably, you could play a month and a half worth of minor league baseball if you wanted to, but because you're not going to have the fans in the stands in Major League Baseball, you're not going to be able to do that in minor league baseball because, again, minor league baseball does not have the very large multi-million, hundreds of millions, borderline billion-dollar contract with national television rights, let alone the multi-millions dollars of local and radio and local TV rights. So I don't think minor league baseball plays at all in the traditional sense, which that sucks. And I wanted to get Scott Knox on, who has played minor league baseball. This is a whole year of non-ability for the player. You know, in a development game that minor league baseball is, you have 1 year of non-development for every single one of these minor league players. That's horrible.
And then, like the kids that just got drafted, they just going to sit around for the year?
Exactly. Exactly.
Right? I mean,
This is where the game is going to be hurt in the worst way possible. Forget about the major leagues for a second. The minor league kids are going to go a whole friggin' year without baseball. That's where the crux of this is going to really be painful. Let's get back at it. Rich, what's up, brother?
Hey, I don't mean to double dip, but I got a dilemma here. True fact or fiction? When Roger Maris had his 61 home run season, is it true that he didn't hit his first home run till almost the end of May?
No.
It's not true.
No.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess I just lost $20. Thanks.
All right, man. See
All
ya.
right, later.
See ya. No, it was, I think, 10 games in when he hit his first home run. But it wasn't until
sorry to
May.
bear the bad news.
Yeah,
Rich.
sorry, dude. It was about 10 or 11 games.
If you would have texted us before, we could have just said yes, and then you would have won $20. I mean, if the
Well, I
guy's,
think he
if
took,
the guy's using us to fact check, then he's not going to Google.
Yeah,
so.
I think he took the wrong side of this.
We would have helped you out.
Well, yeah, I mean, no. Roger Maris did not wait until the end of May to hit his first home run. That was a season in which he was able to. He didn't get off to a great start, but he definitely.
Can you
he
imagine?
definitely started hitting home runs.
Can you imagine hitting 60 if you didn't get one for the first 2 months of the season?
Oh, no doubt. That's
dang.
just nuts. It is.
That would have been insane.
No, absolutely. Now, the major league record to this day for the most home runs in a month, Sammy Sosa did it in June of '98, where he had 20 home runs. But Roger Maris, he started slow, but he didn't start that slow.
I think if someone breaks a record like that, that would stand this year. Someone breaks a month record or an in-game record, and I think career stats should still stand. It's just the season records are the ones that aren't going to mean anything.
Well, I mean, there's no way that someone's there's no way someone's going to hit 73 home runs in 60 games. That's not going to happen.
Average, someone breaks the average record this year.
If somebody hits 400 this year, I'm going to look at that and go,
impressive.
Impressive, but in the grand scheme of things, you didn't have the number of at-bats to qualify. Even though right now, what is it, 3.2 per game, 3.2 plate appearances, 60 games, 192 plate appearances would be needed. That is well short of the amount of plate appearances you need in a regular season, which is 518. So, yeah, if someone were to hit 400 over 60 games, do I celebrate that as a guy that hit 400 for the first time since Ted Williams in 1941? Hell no, I don't. Absolutely not.
Also, when you have the ERA record, if someone breaks the season ERA record, that won't be.
Yeah, if Bob Gibson holds the record for lowest earned run average in the modern era in '68, I think he had a 1.12 earned run average based on a whole 162 game season. Look, if someone in 12 starts, which is all you're going to get, because a 5-man rotation, each guy gets 12 starts, that's 60 games. If you have a 1.12 ERA or lower in 12 starts, wonderful.
Impressive, but not record-breaking.
But I'm not going to sit here and give you the all-time record because you only did it in 60 games. Get out of here with that.
Now, the game records, like if you get the strikeout record in the game is what, 17?
20.
So if you get 21,
yeah. If you can do that, I'll give you that. If somebody gets 5 home runs in a game, absolutely. The game records, I got no problems with that. The season records, I'm not going to pay any attention to that.
And then also the career numbers are going to be okay. Like,
absolutely.
Yeah. So if you break a career milestone,
if a guy gets his 3,000th hit, which I don't think is going to happen, because I don't think anyone's that close. That Pujols went over 3,000, didn't he?
Yep.
Yeah. So nobody's in that realm. But if you were to get 3,000 hits in the 60-game shortened season, hey, that's 3,000. It's still 3,000. I mean, you're only playing 60 games this year, but if you do something from a milestone career standpoint, congratulations, absolutely. But if this is, hey, such and such just hit 410. Okay. I'm not going to sit here and say he's the first person to hit over 400 since Ted Williams because he only played 60 games.
In the same aspect, we can't trash people that have a lower than average in this season, because normally at 360 games, some guy might only be hitting 200 through 60 games, but then finishes the season hitting 280.
Sure.
So if someone has a lower than average, we can't just trash him as a terrible hitter.
Let's just throw out the obvious person right now. If you're an Indians fan, Jose Ramirez from a couple of years ago, where the first 60 games of the year he was hitting below the Mendoza line. So this isn't. If you get off to a slow start,
you're host.
You're toast. Exactly. And this is where, if you're an Indians fan, and there's plenty of people that root for the Indians as well as the Pirates, since we're in between the two cities, and then there's outliers like Anthony that'll root for teams outside of the area. And I share your sentiment in the National Football League, even though I cheer for the Browns, except when they play my boys further up I-90 in Western New York. But if you're an Indians fan, Tito's been good to the organization. He has done an incredible job with this team. But the Cleveland Indians have never played really good baseball through 60 games of a season.
Chris Beeble made a good point, though. It's because of the strategy of a 162-game season.
Sure.
And Tito is such a good manager that he's going to manage the season different, and he's going to. There's going to be a more sense of urgency in these 60 games, obviously, because it's all you get. So I don't think you can look at the past 60 games of the Indians and make that a precursor to what's going to happen this year.
I agree with that. And in that, this is going to be, if you really think about this is going to be 60 postseason mentality games.
It's got to be.
Where if a starting pitcher is in all kinds of trouble, he's going to get lifted a hell of a lot earlier now than he would if it were game 60 of a 162 game season. If you're playing 162 games, you're not going to take a guy out after the game 34 or game 35. You're going to give this guy enough rope to see what he's made of. Now we flip the switch to where Major League Baseball is no longer a marathon. This is now a dead sprint.
Right.
So if you're not cutting it and you're giving up some runs, you don't have time to get yourself in order. We're getting your ass out of the game, and we're going to go to the bullpen. Now, there's a dangerous precedence. You got to draw a really fine line to where you don't blow your bullpen out 60 games in.
It is an extended roster, so you're going to have more bullpen arms. Right?
Yes, but some of those guys wouldn't be in the major leagues.
No.
They're AAA-ish players, so yeah, you're expanding your rosters, but none of them are equal to a reliable
the other
major
teams
leaguer.
In the same spot.
Absolutely. No, I agree with you. Absolutely.
We might see a situation where not a lot of starters get deep in games. We might see a starter go 3 innings and then just say, bullpen will take the rest of it.
I hope not, because again, if you're going to use your bullpen 5 or 6 innings per game, there's nothing like blowing your bullpen out by the 60 game mark.
I know, but then your starters will be fresh for the playoffs.
But
do you want to blow your starter?
You're not going to blow your starter in 12 starts.
You're not.
I mean, even if you let your starter throw a complete game,
but he's not getting the same off-season workout that he got in a normal season either. So is he completely ready when that clock takes it on July 24th to go 12 starts and do the whole routine of a season.
Agreed.
It's a lot of craziness.
If you're going maximum of what a pitcher can throw in 12 starts based on a regulation game, it's 108 innings. Mm-hmm. So you're not going to see a pitcher at 100 innings this year. It's not going to happen. Does that mean that we're about to see damn good pitching in the postseason?
I hope so.
There's a really good chance that the postseason will be filled with 1-0, 2-1, 3-2 type of games.
I kind of hope so, but that's not going to be indicative to making baseball more popular.
And that's where I was going with that, because there's too many knuckleheads that think the game last night at Scene Park to some of these idiots would be, oh, well, this game couldn't have been exciting. It was a 1-0 game. You're the uneducated baseball fan that needs to educate himself pronto in order for you to stay in the herd. And I just became a baseball snob, but it's going to infuriate me if we have a postseason filled with dominating pitching, and it could very well be.
And then people scoff
and then the people start bitching and moaning about
this is
2-1, 3-2 games. Oh, this is boring. Get the hell out of here. It's boring. This is great. This is phenomenal. How could you sit back and say a 2-1 or a 3-2 game is boring?
It better be 3-2, and it better be like 2-2 in the bottom of the ninth, and someone makes a walk-off home run to win 3-2. If that's what it's going to be, because that's the only way that turns exciting for the normal people.
It's sad. It's sad, but you're 100% right. If you think about this, pitchers normally start getting into their groove after the 12th start. I mean, they're getting their feet wet. I mean, you figure every starting pitcher is going to get 12, assuming you go with a 5-man rotation, which I'll be stunned if anyone's doing a 4-man rotation. And if you do a 4-man rotation, now you're getting 15 starts instead of 12 starts. But a starting pitcher is normally starting to get into his groove, and he's starting to get it after about the 10th, 11th, 12th start. So this goes right to what I'm saying, that the postseason could very well be playing 1-0, 2-1, 3-2 type of games, because the pitchers are going to start getting into their groove, and it's going to be about the time where we're going to be in the postseason, which it wouldn't be a bad thing. The purists will love this game. The newbies that love offense, they may not be on the same. They may not be on the same
if
planet.
You think about it, the normal baseball season, the first 60 games, a lot of runs being scored. Pitchers aren't really sharp, quote unquote.
Yeah.
The runs go down when you start to hit, midsummer, All-Star break. Runs go down, and then they come back up for the postseason, and that's how it usually goes like this. It might just be this, and then the postseason is a part of that downturn where we don't see a lot of runs because there's not enough time to go back up.
God, I hope so. I would love to see a postseason where it's all about pitching and it's all about scratching out some runs. Because, like I said, this game last night was a throwback to the game of baseball that I fell in love with as a child of the 70s. This was a freaking great game last night.
Playoff game comes down to a bunt that gets a runner over in scoring position. You'd probably be giddy, wouldn't you? If someone had to bunt over and it came down to who can bunt better.
If we go to the bottom of the ninth inning in a 1-1 game and a leadoff base hit, and you're toward the bottom of the lineup, and a guy bunts the runner over at second and gets a base hit to end the ball game, I'm going to be smiling from ear to ear. Or an extra base hit to win the game. I'm going to be smiling from ear to ear. Because the game of baseball, to me, look, home runs are wonderful. Home runs are fantastic. Offense puts butts in the seat. I get it. But the game of baseball is not supposed to be played where your beer league mentality of 11-10 and everyone loses their mind thinking, oh my God, what a great game. Who had a great game?
Right.
The hitters did. The pitchers sure as hell didn't.
And maybe we'll have a compromise where, like, the game ones and the aces come out and just dominate. We'll have games that are 1-0, 2-1. But then when you start to get into, like, the game threes and the game fours, maybe then you score a little bit more.
Yeah.
And we'll have a mixture of both.
Could be.
Game sevens are tight if there's a game seven.
Yeah, I mean, look, at the end of the day.
And then, what if there's multiple extra games to decide divisions, too? What if, like, with a 60-game thing, what if there are more ties at the end of 60 games in the division? That'll be fun. If there are like 3 divisions that are tied after 60 games, whew, I'm for it. I'm for the chaos.
Here's the thing that is going to frighten me, and I don't know if Manfred is stupid enough to do this. But this is something that frightens me.
As soon as you said that, I'm like, yeah, he is.
Well, of course he is. I'm trying to give this clown the benefit of the doubt. What happens if Major League Baseball has a ridiculously great season and people start clamoring for 60 games year round?
Oh, no.
That would be my problem. And Manfred seems to be the kind of guy that would be like, oh, hey, we can change the game to play just 60 games, to which I would lose my ever-loving mind. Champ, what's going on, brother?
Hey, you're talking about these short seasons and some of the records, but I'll go the other end of the spectrum. In 1994, when we had the strike, Matt Williams had 43 homers after 115 games, and the strike happened. And more importantly, Tony Gwynn was hitting .394 when they ended that season at 110 games he had played. And he was really hot in the second half of the season. And he might have been robbed of a potential 400 batting average that season. Unfortunately, the strike took that away from both those players.
No, agreed. And I remember Matty Williams was hitting home runs left and right, and the season came to an end in early August. It seemed like Williams was on pace to catch Maris and break the record. And I don't know if Tony would have hit 400, but it would have been a whole lot of fun to see, because Gwynn was never really bothered by the press. He ate that stuff up whenever he was the eye of a storm. He always ate that stuff up. That was one thing I appreciated about him.
Yeah, and I think the team wasn't that good, so it wasn't exactly like they covered the team, every day. So he was kind of maybe the pressure was a little bit off of him because the team wasn't that good. But 2 other times that came close was in 1977, Rod Crew hit. And in 1980, George Brett hit .390, but that elusive 400 batting average is something that, I don't know if you guys think it'll ever happen. But in a shortened season now we have coming up, there's a possibility that could happen because, 60 games, you never know.
Yeah, well, and if whoever gets over a 400 average, I'm not accepting it. I mean, okay, right. You hit 400, you only did it in 60 games. I'm not putting you in the record books as being the last guy to hit 400 because you didn't get enough at bats to qualify. Nobody's going to get enough plate appearances based on a 162 game season to qualify for a 400 average. So if someone were to get fortunate and hit over 400 over 60 games, there's going to be the asterisks of all asterisks next to that name, because frankly, I'm not going to look at that and compare that to the guy who hit over 400 the last time out, which was Ted Williams in 41.
You talked, Ron, about Toledo and what the Tigers are doing. Interesting situation, and only because they have so many guys that this year were going to be at the AAA level and expected to sometime this season make their Major League debuts. And I noticed Baseball America just came out with their rankings, and 3 of the top 20 are members of the Tigers and 5 of the top 60, which is pretty remarkable. But they put these guys on this so-called taxi squad down in Toledo, and I believe their number 1 pick, who's already up to number 11 in the rankings, is going to be on member of that taxi squad, and they anticipate that he may see some action in the major leagues this season.
This is the other thing that I think is going to be really interesting, because once you bring a kid up, that service clock starts. So your service clock of, okay, you play 6 years and you're now a free agent, you're allowed to do anything you want to. That service clock starts the moment this kid gets called up. Now, I don't know per se what the rule is this year, but I got to believe that it's going to be business as usual. And if it's business as usual, how many of these major league teams are going to bring up a kid that they wouldn't have brought up during the 2020 season had we played a full year?
Yeah, and I think with the Tigers, I think the situation will depend on where they're at. I mean, I'm not saying that they're going to be a playoff team, but if they're hanging in the race, like I think I read where someone said that they're 10 games over 500 or around 500 and still have a shot coming into September, that they may bring up some of these guys. But some of these guys I'm talking about, like the Mize and Manning and Skubal, these guys were kind of expected to make their debuts this year anyways for the Tigers. But you're right. But I'm not sure if the Major League, if they've decided if they're going to change those rules or not. I anticipate if they do, it would be in a contractual situation, because obviously I think the owners would be in favor of them being able to come up and not, getting credit for their time, or is it the other way around? I'm trying to think now.
Well, they would want to not get credit for their time, so they would have more time with them.
Yeah, it might be a compromise between the two, but other sports have bent the rules. I see where Phil Mickelson now is going to qualify for the U.S. Open because of the virus. They can't have all these qualifications throughout the country, so now that's limited the amount of those qualifications. So now he's going to be able to play in this year's U.S. Open, which I think is great for him in the game of golf. But these little rules, they have to change now in all these sports because of COVID-19. Is just it goes on and on and on. And this is once again a sports year that we will never remember because of all the different changes. But I guess I'm not one of those guys that I'm probably going to watch baseball only because I miss it so much, and I'm a glutton. I guess it's if you got a girlfriend that keeps breaking up with you, but she keeps coming over, you're going to answer the door. That's the way I look at it.
So Champ is looking at baseball as a booty call. Congratulations, sir.
Well, I'm not, but that's right. That's my analogy for some of the younger fans out there, I guess. But anyways, that's one thing I got to. I agree with you guys. I still contend that this football situation, they canceled the preseason game in Canton, but I think you're going to start seeing little things like that because, remember in baseball when they had the Arizona plan way back when, and they wanted to do that the Arizona-Florida plan? Well, those wouldn't be good plans right now, would they? Actually, we'd better off to do the New York-Connecticut plan than the Arizona-Florida plan right now for baseball. That's how things change so much with this virus.
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago where everyone was like, all right, we're going to go back to our spring training facilities and maybe start the season in Arizona and Florida and have a grapefruit league and a cactus league, and everyone will play normal baseball but different leagues. Now that got old real quick and it changed real fast to the point where nobody's going to be going to their spring training home. Everyone's just going to work out in their major league facility.
Yeah, I think that's kind of neat. I remember the only other time I think that they had to abandon the spring training sites was, I think, during the war years, where they actually played a lot of spring training sites more like in the mid-south, Midwest, because they didn't want them on the West Coast or the East Coast. So they moved a lot of them to Arkansas and places like that. I forget what year that was, but that's when they had moved those spring training sites. But hey, the weather's nice. Why not work out in Comerica Park and some of these other home parks? I think it would be kind of neat for the players. But Detroit has a little advantage because Toledo, as you know, is such a short trip. Basically, you get there in less than an hour, so that's going to be nice for them to go back and forth. But once again, they got the big opponent, the COVID-19, to work around, and we'll see what happens. But it's just going to be interesting to watch, and I'm going to be watching baseball, I guarantee it. And I'm anxious to see what DirecTV does now because a lot of the people have prepaid their baseball packages. I wonder what kind of price they're going to charge or the discount, or you're going to get money back. That hasn't been decided yet, but I'm curious to see what happens there.
Well, Champ, I said this, and I think that Major League Baseball needs to do a gigantic service to the fans. I'm not going to sit here and say that everyone should get it free, but I sincerely believe Major League Baseball needs to drop the blackout on the DirecTV package, the extra inning package. I think they need to drop the blackout on the MLB TV because, again, there's no fans. You're not going to see any fans in the stands, so why have a blackout when you're not going to have any fans, so there's no reason for the blackout. So drop the blackout, allow the fans to watch any game they want to, any team they want to, from any place, anywhere, anytime, and I think that would be a huge service. If they want to charge half, and based on 60 games, if they want to charge the prorated and drop it 60% or 75%, again, I think Major League Baseball should do that. It would be completely unfair to charge people a full year when you're not even getting close to a full year. So I think that Major League Baseball will probably change those numbers and give refunds. But I think dropping the blackout is one step in the right direction. And I think the other thing for the kids that are in the house, because a lot of them don't go outside in the summertime, have more day games. I think if you have more day games, you're going to bring in a new generation of kids that would not normally see baseball in the daytime.
Yeah, and I think if DirecTV drops the prices, I think they should go by last year's record. In other words, the worst teams should have the cheapest packages, and the best teams should have the more expensive packages. And if under that case, I think they'd be paying me to watch the Tigers under that condition.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, they're always looking for the dollar. I got you, champ.
Well, sometimes there's an upside to being so bad, but hopefully that'll end soon. So, anyways, that's all I have for today, gentlemen.
I'm for that too, champ. I'm for that too. I like that idea.
I'm a Royals fan. You'd be for it too. I agree.
Right?
Okay.
All right, champ. And as an Indians fan, I guess we would be paying a little bit more.
Yeah, you'd be paying a little bit more.
Yeah. No, look, I think that Major League Baseball should drop the charges by 2/3, if not more, and drop the blackout altogether. And if you do that, I think it's a good service.
Because it's usually, I think, if you get it on the MLB app, it's usually about $25 a month is what you'd pay for MLB.TV, which is watch it anywhere at a month.
Sure.
So maybe you drop that to, I don't know, $10 a month, $11, $12 a month. I'd pay that.
Either that, or you're just going to go one flat fee. July, August, and September, which would normally be $75. Give it to them for half of that, $37.50, or make it an even $40 for 3 months of baseball. One flat fee. That's it. I'm good with that. And again, drop the blackout because you don't have fans in the stands. You don't need a blackout. The blackout is essentially it is protecting the owners. If there's tickets available, they're protecting the owners. Now, if you have a sellout, there's no need for a blackout. But being that there are no fans going to any baseball games this year, limited in the media, you don't need to have a blackout. So if you drop that and then charge everyone $40 for the whole year of 60 games, that's what is that? $1? What is that? $1.50? Is that $1.50 a game? If you're going, $40 into 60 is like a $1.50. If you're watching 40 games. 40 of the 60 games, it's like $1.50. So $40 for 60 games, that's actually not a bad deal. And you can see as many of the 60-game season in Major League Baseball as possible. If I were Major League Baseball, that's at the top of the list. And then obviously marketing this game in various ways would be another thing. And we talked about this. Wiring up guys. Yes. Wiring up managers, having the opportunity for the broadcasters to talk to someone who's on base.
That would be amazing.
I think that would be fantastic. Again, stuff that you normally wouldn't see in a regular season. Think outside the box. If it works and you want to do it the next year, hey, fantastic. Now there's going to be some guys that probably would not be willing to take a lead at first base and talk to someone while they're trying to figure some stuff out. And I'm not saying to talk to someone as the pitcher's in the stretch and you're talking to a guy that's taking a lead.
But I can see it would be great. Like, I can see someone in the box. You know, they take a pitch. Maybe it's like 2-2, and he goes, "Hey guys, he's about to throw a slider. Watch this." And the guy throws a slider, and the guy pops a home run, and it's like, "Guys, see, I told you, slider, home run, gone." Yeah, that'd be
I think
awesome.
that would be phenomenal.
That would be awesome.
You just painted an incredible picture.
If the batter's just like, "Hey, he's about to throw a slider. Watch this." Slider comes, home run, and he's running the bases, and he goes, "See, guys, I told you."
Now let me be the guy with a wet
it's not
blanket.
the Astros.
Let me be the guy with a wet blanket. What happens if he says that and the catcher looks at him and says, "No chance, home slice. Drop the one finger. Let's throw the fastball."
You say it late. You say it when you step in the box. Slider's coming. Bam.
Hey, I think it would be cool.
Or you step out because you're allowed to step out of the box right now.
Yeah.
You step out of the box. You guys, I guarantee a slider's coming.
And you say it in a very a very small monotone thing.
Nonchalantly.
Yeah.
Do it this like your wife and your
Yeah. and you're giving it one of these, and you know that the microphone, slider's coming, and then you get back into the thing, and okay, I can see that. I think it would be terrific. If so many different things that you can do. Now, obviously, you don't want to be the a-hole broadcaster that would sit back in middle of the pitch. "Oh, Lindor, what do you think of this? What of this ball game?" As the ball goes right by him. No, you don't want to be that guy. But in between pitches, if the kid is starting the conversation with the broadcasters, you don't have to talk with them, but you listen to the information. Oh, it's gold. That would be absolute gold.
You know, fastball comes in. The guy goes, "Did you guys get a clock on that? Because that looked faster than normal." "Yeah, it was 98 miles an hour." You got to be kidding me. You know.
And some people, and I'm not to the point where if a player looked at or to ask the broadcaster, "Hey, how fast was that pitch?"
Mm-hmm.
Well, first of all you need to do is look at the scoreboard because it's there. But if he didn't see it, "Hey, Joe Buck, how fast was that pitch?" 98 miles an hour. And then he's ready to go back. I can see where some people would be bent out of shape because, he's able to time the next fastball. Well, come on, stop
you can
that.
see him on the scoreboard.
You still have to.
It's not like he's Joe Buck. Where were the last 4 pitches in that little
exactly,
Fox box?
Exactly. You still have to put the bat on the ball.
Right.
Yeah. So I wouldn't be bent out of shape for that. And I just think little things to get people to see or hear some strategy, like eavesdrop on the first base coach. I'd have all the first base coaches mic'd up and eavesdrop on what's going on. I'd have all the third base coaches mic'd up, and while they're doing the signs, doing stuff like, they're talking. So I'd have that, just the opportunity for the fans who don't get that to get involved front seat in the game of baseball. I think that's part of the marketing that Major League Baseball desperately needs at this point. All right, we'll take a timeout and take some more phone calls. 330-886-0813. It is a Friday edition of Running Point on YSNLive.com.
Ah, the details. Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods is one fine ride. Perfect cornering, superb handling, sporty and stylish, power to spare, plus awesome mileage. Yeah, jaw-droppingly beautiful lines and well appointed with luxurious trim. Put more oomph in your life and start beholding the molding. Find your home's fine hardwood at BairdBrothers.com.
storm season.
I think we're under the gun for some heavy storms over the next couple of hours.
And Storm Tracker 21 is ready.
This is probably the one we're keeping a closer eye on.
On air.
And locally, we're going to have a lot of eyes on our area.
Online.
All right, let's talk high-risk futurecast and the timing of this weather.
On social media and on our app.
Day in the showers, I'm keeping my eye on in parts of Columbiana County.
Stay ready with Storm Tracker 21.
The severe weather threat now through around sunset this evening.
Hi everyone, this is DJ Yoakley with Your Sports Network. We appreciate your support of YSN and welcome you to the YSN family. Our broadcast streams are brought to you live at no cost to you by sponsors that are local to this community. Without the vision and generosity of our sponsors and partners, we would not be able to bring this game to you today. So please support the great businesses and leaders that are making this game possible. And if you're a business in need of great advertising and sponsorship opportunities, feel free to head over to our site for more information on the right fit for you. We are local, we are loyal, and we are live. We are YSN.
It is a phone-in Friday edition of Running Point on YSNLive.com. Ron Potesta with you alongside Anthony Hardwig. I'm looking at the PGA and their stop up in Connecticut. My boy Leishman is not getting the job done. He is through 3 holes. He was in the afternoon crowd. He's 1 over for the day, 3 under for the tournament. It appears he will, as long as he stays 3 under, he'll be safe from being cut. The cut line right now is 3 under, which is bad news for Jason Kokrak. He finishes the 2 rounds 1 under par. He's going to get cut for a second straight week. Thomas, who
I picked Dustin Johnson.
You said Dustin Thomas.
Dustin Johnson.
Oh, you picked Johnson.
Dustin Johnson.
Who did Brian pick?
I think he said Spieth.
All right.
This is number 1.
All right, Spieth is up there. The last I saw. Let's run through this real quick. Live radio, you gotta love it. Dustin Johnson is 7 under. He's tied for 11th. He's 5 shots off the pace.
Come on, boy.
He's done for the day. So he's in a pretty good spot. Spieth is currently we're going down the list. He's 4 under, and he's done for the day. So he's 4 under, and he's going to be good for the weekend. He's just 8 shots off the pace. DeChambeau, who, let's face it, we're secretly rooting for him because this was the guy that Anthony said would win last week, and Anthony's last week golfer won this week a week ago.
It established a pattern.
It established a coincidence. We'll see if it's a pattern.
If DeChambeau wins, it would establish.
Yeah, and DeChambeau is 6 under, and for the day, or not for the day. He's 6 under for the tournament. He's 1 under for the day. He has thrown 5 holes down. He is golfing with Phil Mickelson, and they're both 6 under. Currently 6 shots in back of the leader, the unexpected leader, Will Gordon, who's in the clubhouse at 12 under par.
See, the good news for DeChambeau is the leader's in the clubhouse, so we can make a move and get close by tomorrow. If he can get to maybe 8 or 9 under by the end of the day, he'll be sitting pretty on Saturday.
Oh, absolutely. Now, on the flip side of this, he can crap on himself like Kokrak did for 2 rounds and not get into the weekend. But secretly, we're hoping DeChambeau wins, so we have a pattern here.
If he does that, we might have to change that word to DeChambeau and be like, I'm going to go take a DeChambeau real quick. Instead of
wow. How the mighty have fallen. The guy has got top 5 ever since the comeback.
Yeah, well, if you spite me, then you know it's coming. Storm's coming, Bryson. Storm's coming.
So, using this theory,
but, if you kind of do it, if you go and if you compete, then we won't have to bring out the weapons.
If using this theory,
no, I'm rooting for Dustin.
If your boy throws 3 interceptions, are you suddenly going to be all over your guy?
No, but I'm not like rooting for that's different. Football is different.
All right.
Because he threw 2 picks in the Super Bowl, and I wasn't going to go take him Mahomes.
Okay, so what have we learned on this show? Anthony has a very
it's a double standard in
unique
sports.
double standard in sports, and Champ Summers has a booty call for Major League Baseball this year. This is what we have learned on the Phone-In Friday edition of Running Point.
Things can get nutty on Fridays. I mean, last week we had the Impressions Friday edition. So
there you go. There you go. I believe
we haven't heard the Halloween theme since, though, which that was really scary.
That was kind of that was kind of unnerving. I got to be honest. Last night during the broadcast, and again, Red Baker is the public address announcer. He's been at Scene Park since day one. He's probably the only fixture left in Scene Park in the 25 years that Bob Scene Park has hosted baseball games. But he is gigantic cartoon fan.
Okay.
And I share the incredible respect for Hanna-Barbera and what they did. The just cranking out great cartoons after another. And as a child of the 70s, you saw the best of the best, not named Warner Brothers cartoons with the Bugs and all those other guys.
I think unpopular. Everyone loves Looney Tunes, but the best that Warner Brothers ever put out was Animaniacs. That cartoon is smart, and it's funny and it's smart, and I really like the Animaniacs.
Okay.
So
no, it's the smart.
It's very clever writing, and they throw a lot of jabs that you'll only get if you get.
Yeah.
And I kind of like those cartoons.
The smart cartoon, when I was growing up, and it was probably aired before I was born, but it was a fixture of the 60s and late 50s, 60s, and early 70s. The smart cartoon was Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Oh, yeah.
Because Rocky and Bullwinkle was
some subtle
vicious shots at Russia. I mean, Boris Batinov was a complete tool, and they just abused Russia during the entire Cold War with Rocky and Bullwinkle.
And here's something we think you'll really like.
Yeah. Hey, Rocky, watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat. Yeah, and then you got Boris and Natasha, the enemies that have the Rob Manfred mentality where they're just plain stupid. It was subtle shots at communism.
If you knew, you knew.
Yeah, much like Hogan's Heroes was a vicious shot at Nazi Germany during World War II. It was hilarious. And there's people in Germany, post-Nazi Germany, that loved Hogan's Heroes.
Right.
Based on the fact that, we've lived through this. Colonel Klink is an absolute moron. And this was pretty good stuff.
It's funny, like some of the best comedy comes out of the parts of history that were darkest. It seems like some of the best comedic minds are the ones that escape the darkest moments. And it's funny how that kind of works sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I was in a Holocaust class in college, and our professor gave out some of these joke books that were written by Jews during the Holocaust. And it's like some of the best comedic minds came from the Jews that escaped the prisoner camps, because that's all they could do to kind of escape the situation they were in.
Yeah.
And you'll read it and you know where it came from, and part of you is like, this should I laugh at that?
Yeah, exactly. You're just like looking at this going,
you gotta appreciate the ability to escape that situation with comedy.
Absolutely.
And the Britain comedy that came out right after the war was over was hilarious too. Like some of the British radio comedy from 1946 and 47.
Yeah.
That my dad has been clever enough to show me throughout the years. Hilarious.
Well, Monty Python in that era of just absolutely brilliant writing, and then you spawn off, not necessarily spawned off from Monty Python, but Benny Hill was incredibly funny in some of the stuff that he did, and it's just a completely different style of humor. But yeah, the Brits are they're an interesting group, and they love to just make fun of themselves at times.
There's a radio farting contest from 1947. It's on the internet. I think it's called the Decrepitation Match of 1940.
Oh, wow.
It's from Britain, and it is the most hilarious thing you'll ever watch or listen to in your life if you find it on the internet. It's hilarious, and it's like a boxing match, but instead of boxing, they're farting.
There you go. All righty. This is what our show has become. Yes. Phone-in Fridays have become fart talk. Baseball is a booty call. And Anthony has a dark side. So, yeah.
It wasn't really that dark. I mean, just saying I'm going to go take a DeChambeau.
You're nailing a guy that top 5 since the sport has come back, and all of a sudden, because he's not up to your standards, now you're going to sit back and say, I got to take a DeChambeau. I'll be back in a few minutes. Okay. Jeez. If I have a bad broadcast on Tuesday, come Wednesday, you're going to be looking at me going, all right, you got to go to a commercial. I got to take a Potesta. Oh, okay, great, wonderful. Good Lord. Calgon, take me away. 330-886-0813. That's a trafficant line. Yeah. That's a trafficant line.
Yeah.
330-886-0813. So many moons ago when we were talking about baseball and had a rather serious talk, I'll go back to the one thought of, hey, this 60-game season worked really, really well. Everything was on point. I hope that no one is stupid enough to sit back and say, let's make a habit of this. Let's just play 60 games all year long. Oh, God, no.
No,
please,
I don't think it'll go that far, but it might put on the table, let's shorten the season. It might say, let's cut it to 150 or 104, or whatever it might be. It might be, do we really need 162? That might be put on the table, which I don't agree with either. But if the 60 season works and it works really well, there might be those people that say, why do we need 162 games? Why can't it be 150 or 140 or whatever?
Yeah. Well, and here's the dangerous precedence. Because Major League Baseball has their stats that are sacred. I mean, look, stats in football are no longer sacred because you had 12-game regular seasons, then you bumped it up to 14 games, and you played 14 games for a few decades, and then you bumped it up to 16 games, and now you're thinking about bumping it up to 17 or 18 games. Those statistics are not sacred. Major League Baseball statistics are sacred because up until, 1960-ish, you had 154 games. And then when the expansion came around in 61, if I'm not mistaken, you went up to 162 games. I think Maris was the first year. 61 was the expansion year, and it was the first year that they played 162 games. And everyone said, "Wow, Maris didn't get the 61st home run in within 154. You got to put an asterisk next to this." No, you don't. He was able to do it, albeit in 8 more games. I get that. But Major League Baseball has only played in the history of Major League Baseball that goes back since 1903 and sometimes back even further before the World Series. You only played 2 different sets, 154 games and 162. If you go another number other than these 2 numbers, now Major League Baseball statistics are nowhere near as sacred as they should be. So that's why, for me, you're either staying at 162 or you're going back to 154.
Are the number of games the only things that affected the stats back in the, I mean, like, the pitcher stats from the 50s are different than pitcher stats now. So the game has changed dramatically in the fact that we look at stats. I mean, there are more stats now. So are the stats of the old necessarily quote-unquote sacred since it was a different game of baseball?
Yeah, because it was the same amount of games or close to the same amount of games.
I get that, but like if someone has a record from 1930, I mean, yeah, it's technically the record, but if someone gets kind of close to it now, people are going to be like, so what? That guy did it in 1930. It doesn't matter. It's a different game of baseball. You know
Not really, because your name's never going to be in the record book.
Well, fine.
I mean, you had a great year, but you didn't have as good a year as this guy did. Now, the argument that I would flip is, okay, this guy who broke a record in 1930 never played against the best of the best.
That's what I was going to bring up too. It's like everything before
47.
47 when we broke the color barrier.
It's a different game.
It's a different game.
And most of those records are gone.
That's true.
I mean, most of those records are pretty much history. The only record that, or two large records that are still around, Joe DiMaggio's 56-game hitting streak, which was accomplished in 41.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone's going to
and Ted Williams hitting over 400, which was accomplished in 41. And again, you can sit back and say, well, neither one of those guys had to play against the best of the best. They only played against the best white people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, you can say that, but it's still a great accomplishment. Whether you're playing against the best of the best or you're only playing against one race, it's still a pretty good accomplishment.
As sad as it was, we always say you play against the people that you're put up against.
Exactly.
And like Ted Williams was not the one making the decision to say, let's not let black people into into baseball. So I'm not gonna, as sad as it was that we took so long to break the color barrier, I'm not going to say that Ted Williams hitting 400 wasn't a majorly good feat because he wasn't playing the best baseball players in the country.
Anytime you hit 400, you're doing something special in the show, regardless.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, again, who was the Yankees of '98? What was the team that won so many games and then wound up winning a World Series? And I think they might have had the best record, win percentage wise, to win a World Series. Well, the Indians won 111 games out of 154. I think they have the highest win percentage ever in Major League Baseball, or one of the top two.
The Cleveland franchise, I believe, also has the worst season in Major League Baseball history, too, back when they were the Spiders.
I want to say that you're right on that.
20 wins.
Although the 62 Mets were pretty bad in and of itself.
Baseball.
Yeah, and that was what 42
Spiders
42 wins and 120 losses, or 40 wins and 122 losses, something like that.
And then they won the World Series 7 years later.
Yeah,
the Amazing Mets.
There you go. Let's take another timeout. We're back with more. It is a phone-in Friday edition of Running Point on YSNLive.com.
Baird Brothers remains your source for fine hardwood products. For the time being, we're open for customer pickup only on weekdays, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., and Saturday from 9 a.m. till noon. Place your order online at BairdBrothers.com. Baird Brothers, for the place you love.
Quality, customer service, and integrity. Those are the 4 words that have driven our success since 1957 at Joe Dickey Electric.
Joe Dickey Electric is one Mahoning Valley landmark business that stays current with the requirements of our customers. Family owned and managed, we are an electrical contractor and energy solutions provider. Every member of our team adds to his or her skill set through ongoing training. Residential, commercial, industrial, automotive, and more. We keep ahead of the needs of our customers with a fleet of more than 50 vehicles and 24/7 emergency service, so you're never left in the dark.
The 4M Company, being an architect and construction manager for over 40 years, has had the opportunity to use many different electrical businesses for our projects. The depth, quality, and knowledge and attention to detail displayed by Dickey Electric makes them stand out above all the rest.
For state-of-the-art expertise and a timeless commitment to our customers, contact Joe Dickey Electric. We are everything electrical.
Friday night, it's fresh limousine. I'm feeling pretty good about myself, like I'm living the dream. Platform shoes, strut down the street. It's gonna get hot in here, I hope you can handle the heat. 1, 2, 3, 4,
help you with your Medicare needs.
Myers Family Insurance looks forward to helping you now.
For years to come, so call our family today
and remind them how cute we are.
Myers Family Insurance continues to be the area's resource for all your Medicare and retirement needs. Call today, 330-286-3044.
It's a Friday edition of Running Point on YSNLive.com. Ron Potesta with you alongside Anthony Hartwig, the man with a dark past, evil, sordid past.
The dark past. I am the hero that YSN deserves, but not the one it needs right now.
Dum, dum, dum. And have the look.
Yeah. You ever notice how you don't see me and Batman in the same spot at the same time?
Oh, God. The Caped Crusader is here. All right. 330-886-0813. DJ has the call tonight from Bobsine Park, where hopefully, fingers crossed, I think we're supposed to have a really good night tonight.
Yeah, I think tomorrow's the iffy part with thunderstorms rolling in. But always keep an eye on 21 Storm Tracker and for baseball forecasts. Our partners down at 21 do a great job.
Speaking of, I went to Leetonia to check out the basketball team because they're doing some summer work and whatnot. And I'm going to be on the coaching staff, or at least we're still talking about me being on the coaching staff this year. So I was looking at some of the kids. Leetonia's school is in my old neighborhood. And we brought up the fact that the tornado, the EF1 tornado that hit Leetonia, hit next door to my childhood home, which would have been Dr. Beaver's house. Dr. Beaver was a longtime official doctor for the athletes that went out for sports. You had your physical and whatnot. Doc Beaver was taking all the physicals and whatnot. Well, his home, as I was, I took 14 because I live in Columbiana. I took 14 down to Washingtonville, made a turn at the post office, and then went on that road. If you stay on that road, you run right into the Leetonia schools, but you also run right into my childhood home. So as I'm going up the hill, I'm looking intently to see just how much damage was done next door. Oh, there were trees that were just mangled, and I'm just looking at this going, I mean, the structure is, I guess it's fine, but the trees were, some of them were mangled and some other ones were disheveled, and there was a mess. And there's no doubt there was a mess. But yeah, it was interesting as I worked my way into the school, into the parking lot. You see the Mother Nature in an EF1. Thank God it was only an EF1. I can only imagine how much damage would have been done if it was a bigger funnel.
What would the hoops look like down in Leetonia when you got to see them? I know it's probably pretty limited with the social distancing, so you can't evaluate a lot right now. But
yeah, it was really interesting. The kids have their own basketball. You know, you're going to do your own thing with a basketball, and you have to clean everything after everything is done. Coaches are wearing masks, so I had my mask and just basically just watching and giving words of encouragement, or hey, make sure you set your feet before you put up the shot. Well, just doing some drills. Leetonia's got some good kids. They I think that they were young last year, and I think that they were in an awful lot of close games last year. I think they won 3 or 4 games all year, and they were within 6 points in 7 or 8 other games. So I can see, if everything falls into place, I can see Leetonia jumping from 3 or 4 wins to 9 or 10 wins, maybe even 11 wins this year, where you're now starting to win those close games, those coin flip games that you predominantly lost because you went through a growth spurt and you were in those games. Now, at least on paper or theoretically, you're supposed to win more of those games. So I can see Leetonia going from 3 or 4 wins to anywhere from 9 to 11 wins this year, and then you're not really losing a tremendous amount of talent. You still have pretty decent talent coming back. I mean, you do lose 2 pretty good players in Ian Davis and Marco Ferri, and I believe there's one other player that of significance that the Bears would lose. But you still have some pretty solid players coming back. Joey Guido being the biggest name. He's only going to be a sophomore this year. So I think that in the next 5 years, with the group that I had last year, that's very good, potentially could be really good if they all are able to take this game more seriously. I think Leetonia could be set up for a pretty interesting renaissance of basketball. And they've never been great at basketball. We've never won a district championship. We've won 1 league championship. I think that the Bears have only won 4 sectional titles. That's not that big. I mean, that's close to 100 years of basketball. You've only won 4 sectional titles? No.
I think it's important that none of that be said this season, because I think one of the things that might hold the Leetonia Bears back, they competed last year.
Absolutely they did.
But they didn't have that winning culture, that winning mentality, because they probably have to look at the gym and every year and see the banners that, hey, we haven't won a district. Everything is reminding them of the fact that there's a losing history. And I think if they go into this mindset of playing not to lose instead of playing to win, if they get caught up in that, then that's going to hold them back. But they have the talent in the world to really compete and become a strong program if they can wash all that out.
Absolutely.
And go every night and expect to win games.
And I think that's where you have to.
I would take all the basketball banners off the gym.
Well, I think that's the one.
Just me personally.
Well, look, I'll be honest, Anthony. I'll be honest with you, as an alum who graduated there 36 years ago. God, I can't believe it's been actually 38. It's been 38 years since I graduated from that place. Oof. And that was in the old school, not the new one. Every time I walk into that gymnasium, that banner is like a magnet, and I'm the refrigerator. That thing is attractive to where I have to walk in and I have to see that banner, which you have you have league titles and then a line, sectional titles, then you have a line, district titles, and then you have a line, regional appearances, regional championships, and then you have a line, state championships / state runner-ups. Blank, 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 4, 1. 1 league title, 4 sectional titles, 0 district championships, 1 district runner-up, 0 regional appearances, 0 regional runner-up, 0 regional championships, 0 state runner-up, 0 state championships. Now, obviously, if to get to a state tournament, you got to be you just have to be unbelievably good, and you have to be unbelievably lucky,
especially in basketball.
Absolutely. To get to a regional tournament, you still got to be the best team in your district, and you would hope that your team would experience one of those things. I think that if you get these kids to turn their mindset around, and we're in the process of doing it, I think that things are going to be looking up for Leetonia. I think that the fact that Paul Julia has gotten a different mindset for these kids, and we've seen the results to where they've had 2 non-losing seasons back-to-back, and there's a very good chance, knock on wood, that you're going to have a 3rd non-losing season. I think that the future of Leetonia athletics on the boys' side looks pretty good.
And now that you've had 2 non-losing seasons in a row, the goal should shift, because non-losing, you're still putting the word losing in there.
Yeah.
So it's still putting into that culture that we've been a losing program.
Yeah.
Now we need to have whatever amount of wins.
Yeah, they had 5.
Forget let's not have a losing season. Let's just have a
6 games or more in a 10-game season. And they had 5 wins in 2018, and they had 6 wins in 2019. Okay. Get to at least 6 wins in 2020, assuming we have a season.
Let's have a winning
season. Let's set the bar up a little bit more.
Let's not have a not losing seseason. Let's have a winning season.
Exactly. That's hopefully, fingers crossed, that's what happens. And I'm a firm believer that what is going on in football is now trickling down to basketball. I said this when Dan Dennis was hired. I think Latonia got the best guy available for the job, and I think that Dan Dennis has done a fantastic job of getting the absolute best out of every single one of his kids. And as we continue to teach these kids what is expected of them, I think that we're only going to be better, because the talent level is going to get better in the next 1 to 5 years. The talent level is where we have a window from the kids that are now going into 8th grade till they graduate. We have a 5-year window where Latonia could be a fun basketball program to watch night in, night out. But it's going to take all of these kids to not only bust their butt in practice, but when they're off the school basketball floor, you still got to work on your game. That mentality has to be drilled into the heads of all the kids in order for the losing culture to be kicked to the curb once and for all.
And culture can change when hard work pays off.
Oh, amen to that.
When they're working their butts off, and then all of a sudden they hit a big shot in the game, and they go, "Oh, okay, this is working. I'm gonna buy into it."
Yeah.
So,
and I think that you're gonna see a lot of kids buying into the program a lot more in year 2 of Dan Dennis's era at Latonia.
and then once they start to buy in, they have to get the young people to buy in too.
Well, they will.
So
they'll
that
automatically
way-
buy in when
That's
you
how
see the older kids buy in.
That's how you build the program.
Exactly.
I mean-
And I think it's you got to crawl before you walk, and you got to walk before you run, and you got to run before you chew gum and run. So right now, the Bears basketball program is learning how to crawl, and they are. And now we're going to get into, hey, let's start to walk here, and little baby steps. That's cool. I'm good with that. I don't expect this team to be 15 plus wins and shock the world. It would be nice, be wonderful if they did, but I think that this team is going to make a sizable leap from 3 to 9 or 10. I think that's a sizable leap.
Sometimes you have to run before you can walk. And then what I mean by that is some people in programs get a little bit too caught up in the baby steps.
Yep.
And they miss the chance to take a big step.
Yeah.
Because they're too busy. Let's just take baby steps. So sometimes in life and in sports, you got to run before you can walk. And, as long as Latonia doesn't miss those little chances, and they'll be trickled throughout the season to take big steps and not get caught up in just let's just take baby step, baby step, baby step.
Yeah.
Take the big steps when they're there for you.
Well, I will say this. I am just fascinated by the wealth of intelligence in basketball that Coach Dennis has. It's unbelievable. I mean, this guy, you want to talk about tapping in to a ridiculous amount of wealth of knowledge in the game of basketball. This guy has it. The times are trying, because he's used to, at West Branch and various other places, he was used to winning double digits every single year. But that time is coming. That time is coming. It's just learn to build a program from scratch and do it in his way. And I think that it's not going to be long before this program starts doing things that we haven't seen in Beartown in 30, 40 years. It's been a long time since 21 years, 22 years since the last time they went to the district finals. So it's been a long time, 35 years since they won their only league championship. So I think that the time frame is not that far down the road for that team to start playing that caliber of basketball.
And they're playing in a conference that's pretty wide open.
Oh yeah,
and that's going to help them too.
And Columbiana's not going to be doing what they're doing anytime soon.
They're not going to be what they were. They're still going to be very good and very talented. And Coach Johnson is a great coach, and he's going to have them working. But they're not going to be what they were.
No, and their JV program will be a lot better. That 8th grade team that did a very nice job this year. They're going to be predominantly playing JV ball. That Lisbon 8th grade team that was ridiculously good. Quinn's going to have most of those kids on his JV team except for Sifke, because I cannot see where he's playing JV ball this year. Maybe he does. Maybe he doesn't make the leap from 8th grade to varsity basketball. I don't know, but that team is going to be incredibly talented JV-wise. The rest of the league, again, Southern will be fun to watch. Wellsville with Bug is always a treat to watch because Bug is one of the best coaches in high school basketball. And,
bugging out.
Yeah, and it'll be a fun league. And let's not forget,
hey, Valley's coming to town.
Valley's coming to town, and Valley is a really, really good basketball program. Dolph is going to have his kids wanting to clean up the league, so and they'll be a favorite. They should be. Look, I mean, this is a team that played St. Joe's, Cleveland Central Catholic, Warren JFK, amongst other programs. Hell yeah, they should be favored to win the EOAC.
When Dolph comes to Latonia, you used to have your PA announcer play the Rocky theme.
I must break you.
Yeah, that's because hey Dolph, we're gonna beat you just like Rocky.
Yeah.
So if he dies, he dies.
Oh, God. Oh, no. Ew, take your best shot there, Dolph.
Maybe I'll fight him, maybe I won't.
Go for it there.
Adrian!
Yo, Adrian! Oh, God. Our show's gone to hell. 330-886-0813. I got to take a timeout. Recompose. Back in a bit. Stick around. More to come.
They say American craftsmanship is making a comeback. Of course, at Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods, it never went away.
People are floored by Baird Brothers' authentic hardwood floors. They stare at our stairs and adore our doors. Baird Brothers reflects 3 generations of family craftsmanship. Visit our huge in-stock selection in person or at BairdBrothers.com.
Baird Brothers, our family's heritage, your family's home.
Planning a project around your home or rental property? Trust the electrical service to the local experts with 62 years of serving the Mahoning Valley. Joe Dickey Electric is your local go-to source for responsive, reliable residential electrical work. From everyday maintenance and repairs to new installations, electrical upgrades, and safety inspections, no job is too big or too small. Call Joe Dickey Electric today, 800-549-3976, or visit DickeyElectric.com. That's DickeyElectric.com.
Myers Family Insurance knows the importance of a great team.
Our team continues to grow to help you with your Medicare and retirement needs.
The annual election period is here, so it's all hands on deck to make sure your plans still meet your needs for 2020.
Call us today.
It's a Friday edition of Running Points on YSNLive.com. Ron Potesta with you. Anthony Hardwig along for the ride. 330-886-0813, the number to call. That's 330-886-0813. Again, yesterday the big news was the fact that the Hall of Fame, as well as the induction ceremonies Everything is awash in Canton, Ohio. They will do that in 2021, and the induction ceremonies will be over a 2-day period in 2021. They'll have the class of 2020 inducted on one night, and then they'll have the class of 2021 inducted on another night, and they'll have the game on another day. So it'll be a 3-day love fest instead of a 2-day love fest of Hall of Fame inductions and the game. Did I ever tell the story of my one and only trip as a fan to the Pro Football Hall of Fame? No. Okay.
There you
This
go.
is a tale of why alcohol should never be used in an environment such as football. So, yeah.
Coming from Bill's Mafia, that's great.
August 3rd, 1985. This would be the induction ceremony of O.J. Simpson, Joe Namath, Roger Staubach, Jack Kemp, congressman, a former high-ranking Republican congressman out of Western New York, and one or two other former pro football athletes. My 21st birthday, hence I'm now perfectly legal to buy other than beer. Let me preface this by saying I was able to buy beer at 18 because the grandfather clause. I was one of the last to purchase beer in the early 80s. As an 18-year-old, I was grandfathered in. So I would purchased all kinds of beer, but I'd never purchased the top shelf stuff. So here we go. 21st birthday, and friends of mine, we got 4 tickets to the Hall of Fame. So the 4 of us are not sitting together because the tickets are so scarce. So we decided to tailgate, watch the ceremonies, because back then you had the ceremonies in the morning, you had the game in the afternoon, and it was all done in one day. So at 8 o'clock in the morning, we go to a convenience store in Salem where I pick up 1/5 of a bottle of vodka, a gallon of orange juice, a case of beer, and some jabroni wanted wine coolers. It wasn't me. Don't judge me. We get to the tailgate site and just went off and just started having all kinds of fun. Most, if not all, of the beer is gone. All the coolers are gone, which I didn't have any. That's just drop your man card if you're drinking a wine cooler. Neither here nor there. And a good portion of the vodka is gone, along with the orange juice, because screwdrivers are wonderful. Or at least back then they were. Now, what comes next is the reason why you don't mix alcohol in a sporting event, especially a Hall of Fame sporting event. Because, as everyone knows, I grew up as a Buffalo Bills fan. O.J. Simpson was the franchise. O.J. Simpson was one of the greatest running backs to ever play the game, and he was the Buffalo Bills. O.J. Simpson is getting inducted. I'm a big O.J. fan. At least back then I was. I'm still a fan, but not really, because, well, he kind of sort of got away with double murder. You all know the story. But O.J. Simpson was doing his induction speech. So was Joe Namath. Huge fan of Joe Namath. So was Roger Staubach. Hey, I liked Roger Staubach, Captain Comeback with the Dallas Cowboys. Do you think that I was able to listen to any of these? Hell no, I wasn't. Where was I, you asked? Passed out under the I-77 bridge. And I missed all of the induction ceremonies.
No. I thought you were going to say, like, driving the porcelain bus. You were passed out.
Oh, no, I threw up long before the induction ceremonies. And I drank another beer after I puked. I was the... who was the guy on Varsity Blues? The fat guy? Puke and Rally. That was that guy. Puke and Rally! And grabbed a beer, chugged it down, whatever. I am passed out under the I-77 bridge. Now, The reason why I'm under the I-77
How'd you
bridge
get there?
is because the induction ceremony was seen by so many friggin' people. They were all the way backed up to the tail end of the lawn. So here I am. There's no room for anybody. So I went under the I-77 bridge, and I'm passed out. I missed all the induction ceremonies. I wake up, the whole thing is over. And I'm stumbling because you're still drunk at this point. So I'm stumbling around, and I'm looking to see where my friends are, and everyone decides to go into the Hall of Fame. Now, back then, it was free on induction day. So we all go into the Hall of Fame. There's an interesting little thing to have 4 drunken clowns walk into the Hall of Fame. There's something that was fun.
You ruined the sanctity of the Hall of
No,
Fame.
no, not at all. We were somewhat well behaved. Tip O'Neill, the former Speaker of the House.
Okay.
I got a friend of mine, and he was in the posse, in the quartet of people. We were all pretty much inebriated. And he swears to this day, he met Tip O'Neill, he shook Tip O'Neill's hand, and he swears to this day Tip O'Neill said, "How you doing, Steve?" He tells me he swears to this day that he said Tip O'Neill called him by his first name. I said, how the hell would he have called you by your first name? You didn't introduce yourself and said, "Hey, I'm Steve." He goes, "No, Tip O'Neill knew me." How the hell does Tip O'Neill know you? Get out of here with that. But he swears to this day that Tip O'Neill looked at him and said, "How you doing, Steve?" Meanwhile, I'm slobbering all over myself because Joe Willie is like 5 feet from me. And it's kind of ironic that here I am slobbering over him when years later he's slobbering over Susie on ESPN where he was drunk.
Colbert?
Yeah, and he was slobbering all over Susie Colbert. I thought that was more than ironic. Not that I'm Susie Colbert or anything. No. But, you know, I'm just like, it's not a good idea to do any of that stuff. So from that point, I said, I'll have a couple of drinks in a tailgate scenario. But from that point, I have never been blasted before a game, or more importantly, before an important event such as the Pro Football Hall of Fame induction ceremonies. Missed OJ's induction ceremony, all because I wanted screwdrivers. I screwed myself. By the way, we left at halftime because we didn't want to see the rest of the game.
No one wants to see the second half of a preseason game.
Well, that and the fact that the guy that swears, Tip O'Neill said, "How you doing, Steve?" passed out at kickoff and woke up at halftime. So there you go.
Who was playing in the Hall of Fame game that year?
Houston and Miami. Wasn't a bad matchup. I believe it was Houston and Miami. The only other time that I went to the Pro Football Hall of Fame, it was when I was in the Warren Junior Military Band. I marched in the halftime of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, Falcons playing the Browns, and that would have been the summer of '81. So within a 4-year stretch, I went to the Hall of Fame game not once, but twice. Once sober and once embarrassing. So there you go. That's my tip for the day. If you're going to a sporting event, make sure you have fun in the tailgate lot, but you're not blasted when you go into the game. You want to be able to remember stuff. and you want to be able to savor.
You want to be able to be conscious during these.
You want to be able to savor the moment just in case one of your childhood heroes decides to have a really good speech. Of course, I'll never know what OJ's speech was like. I think he actually thanked the woman he allegedly murdered, but I don't know if that's the case or not because I was passed out under the I-77 bridge. There you go. All right, we'll take a final timeout. Back with more. It is a Friday edition of Running Point on YSNLive.com.
Hey, my Ohio friends, it's Mike Ditka, and I know great talent and heart when I see it. I can tell you from firsthand experience, there are average real estate agents, then there are true champions. Kelly Warren is one of those champions, and you have her right there in your own backyard. Kelly outmarkets and outsells every agent in the Mahoning Valley. If Kelly can't sell your home at a price and deadline you agree to, Kelly will buy it. Get your home sold. Call Kelly Warren today at 717-2689 or go online to kellysoda.com and start packing.
You can feel it. Baird Brothers' traditional craftsmanship. You can see it. Baird Brothers' timeless style. And you can afford it. And find everything at BairdBrothers.com. Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods is real hardwood, yet beautifully affordable. Floors, moldings, interior doors, bar rails, and stair parts. All within your means and without a care. Start at BairdBrothers.com. You have made it. Your home.
Teams work hard and give it all they've got. Well, so does ours, because 21 Sports and YSN give you extra effort when covering local sports. 21 Sports and YSN, winning coverage of our Valley's teams.
Getting ready to close up shop on this phone-in Friday edition of Running Point on YSNLive.com. Ron Potesta with you alongside Anthony Hardwick. Just a reminder, coming up in about a little over an hour from now, it's Friday. That means it is time to lay down the full court press. Jeff Brazil, Brian Higgins, they'll be saying God knows what at 4 o'clock today and every Friday. Full court press on YSNLive.com. I look forward to the carnage that they're going to be leaving on a Friday afternoon, and should be an awful lot of fun. Good show. Real good show.
Yep, and then Class B right after, so got a full slate of baseball.
DJ will be on Field 1, and as DJ said, he will be maneuvering Camera 1 and Camera 2. I have yet to master that. I'm actually a D- player when it comes to that. I think I'm just going to leave it on the widescreen, and that'll be the end of that.
It's literally doing this, guys.
Again, 12 years of not doing any of that stuff, and I'm not used to while I'm doing a game.
Mike McKenzie does it, and he's 16 years old.
I understand that, but Mike McKenzie hasn't done a long amount of time of doing games. When you've done games forever and a day, and you don't do this until just now, it's kind of a tough habit to break of being immersed in the game and not doing this. So I'm going to leave the full wide angle, and that's it. The hell with it. You're not going to get a short angle of where the pitch is. I'm leaving a wide angle, and that's that. Good Lord.
Are you basically saying you can't teach an old dog new tricks?
Exactly. Okay. You can't.
All right, Rover.
Oof. How'd you like my story?
For what?
The Hall of Fame story.
I missed it. I was creating a promo.
Now there's another reason for you to go to YSNLive.com and hear about as my 21st birthday, passed out under the I-77 bridge, not listening to OJ, Joe Namath, Roger Staubach, Jack Kemp. I don't know who the hell the fifth guy was. Not listening to any of them because I'm underneath the I-77 bridge. There you go.
It makes sense. Just the Cliff's Notes right there make a lot of sense.
Oh God. Well, I mean, the story goes a little bit more theater of the absurd. You'll have to listen to it.
We cut a promo. Just to let you know, we cut a promo, and we are now accepting applications for fall announcers on YSNLive.com to pick up the coverage that we're going to be doing with
All of the teams that we just picked up, we need broadcasters.
Yep, and we still have some room for baseball. If you're looking to get involved in the current, we still have some availability for our baseball schedule as well. So,
well, I mean, we don't have Field 2 available in some of those.
Field 2 and Field 3.
Field 3, yeah, absolutely.
And then we also have the Mahoning Valley High School Baseball League, and then we're in conversation with another league, the Warren AA, that has reached out to us too. So a lot of interesting stuff, and like we say in the promo, no experience necessary. All you need is a little bit of heart.
There you go. There you go.
But if you have experience, like some people across the table from us, on the technical side, maybe not so much, but on the voice side, you're killing it, buddy.
All I would
There's
love
2 buttons.
Yeah, well,
2 buttons.
I'm sorry. I'm not used to that.
It's 2 buttons.
I'm not a director, producer, and broadcaster. I'm just going to leave it on wide angle and say, look, this is the best that you're going to get, and there it is.
Did you guys see that ESPN's talking about canceling their TV? They're just going to go straight streaming.
Straight streaming.
Wow.
Which is,
Disney's lost a crap load of money.
A large portion of
On what?
ESPN viewers.
Well, they haven't opened their freaking park in
Well, no, but Disney Plus gave them a huge revenue stream that was unexpected. I think they thought it would be good, but I didn't think they'd realize it. And then they packaged it with Hulu and ESPN, so that's the package I have. But for them to come out, for ESPN to come out and even start thinking about canceling television. We said a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away that streaming is the future, and people looked at us like we had 6 heads. And every day I thank God that we pulled the trigger on this.
I'm wondering, though, from the aspect of, okay, you can get rid of SportsCenter, you can get rid of the BS.
Well, they'll still have it.
It'll just be streamed.
It'll just be streamed instead of...
The one thing that I will be curious, okay, the game aspect. What are you going to...
Again, it's not like they're just taking it off television.
Yeah.
You can still go on your Roku or your smart streaming device and watch ESPN the same way as you would basically right now. Mm-hmm. But it costs them money to put something on television where it is very reasonably priced to stream it.
For the older folks that don't have a freaking clue about that stuff, you're essentially telling them either get with the times or we're kicking your ass out of the cocoon.
Well, here's the other thing, Ron, is from firsthand experience, is you can do a lot more on the internet than you can.
Oh, yes, you can.
So
yeah, absolutely.
The sports fan they are a Disney company, so you'll have to respect that. But I think that there's a little flair for a little bit more maybe PG-13 in sports than there is anywhere else. So it'll be interesting to see if they go that direction. Now, I'm not expecting the Attitude Era, but I think that that they could do a little bit more and spice things up and make it more appealing because their ratings are bad.
I can see Max Kellerman
their debate shows might get a little bit more PG-13.
I can see Max Kellerman looking into the camera and going, Kellerman 316 says I just whipped your ass. Okay.
As long as you see it, Ron.
Yeah, that's that's probably not where we want to go with that.
I think they can get a little healthier with their debates. You know what I mean? A little bit more flavorful.
My only concern is you have to have talent in order to have debates. I'll just leave it at that.
Wow.
I'll just leave it at that because what they have over there isn't talent. Yeah. It's a bunch of hot air with.
I'm gonna stay away from that.
Mixed with a bunch of nonsense. That's why the ESPN's unwatchable, and it's been unwatchable for 20 years.
It's been
unwatchable for that long.
I'm just gonna go out on a limb and guess you are a CNN SI guy.
No, it's nothing about that.
What's your favorite sports program? Let's just
yeah. What do you?
I haven't watched SportsCenter in years.
Okay, no. I just meant if you're going on TV, you're gonna watch a sports program, not a game, but a program. What are you watching?
And the fact that you say you haven't watched SportsCenter in years, I think I'm calling BS. How do you get your sports?
It's easy. If I want baseball, I go to MLB TV. If I want basketball, I'll go to NBA TV. If I want football, I'll go to the NFL Network. If I want hockey, I'll go to the NHL Network. I don't need ESPN. ESPN, to me, has turned into a laughingstock where when they first started in 1979, they actually gave a crap about journalism. They actually had Bob Lee, Tom Mees, Chris Berman, who before he became the buffoon that he turned into, toward the latter years of his career at ESPN. He was actually a decent journalist back in the day. There were guys that knew what the hell to do in the sports broadcasting without sounding like the very form of what ESPN stands for now, egotistical sports programming for narcissists.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think ESPN still has some of the best sports writers in the game.
I would agree with that. And
there's a couple, but they're mixed in with a bunch of garbage.
I think you get caught up in that hype machine of what everybody is thinking is like popular. That like ESPN, where else are you going to get your sporting news at the national level?
Again, if I want baseball, I can go to MLB TV.
So you're
for live games.
Yeah, for live games.
I can do that for anything baseball MLB Tonight. That's a hell of a good show.
Okay, so you're going to pay.
Baseball Tonight is on ESPN.
No, MLB Tonight on the Major League Baseball Network. That's a hell of a good show.
So you're going to pay upwards of an extra 60, 70, maybe $100 a month on your cable bill to watch 4 programs that you can get all inclusive on one network? That's something that you choose to do?
I'm already got these things included in my DirecTV package.
So this is why I cut the cord, because
of course.
But naturally $50 a month for YouTube TV, and I get the majority of that without the NFL Network, because the NFL Network, you want to talk about egotistical. You want to talk about people that have an agenda. I want someone that tells me what is really happening. And yes, ESPN covers up a lot of what they're doing, but they will tell you if something is brewing. The NFL Network is not going to tattle on themselves. Neither is the NHL, neither is Major League Baseball. They're not going to, and NBA as well. They're not going to tattle on themselves. ESPN at least tells the other side of the story. Like, they will say, if there is a problem, they will dig into it. They're not going to sit there and be like, well, nothing's happening here, because they're protecting the shield. They're protecting the brand. Now, ESPN will do whatever they can to protect their brand, but that's what every brand does.
Sure.
You're getting a very watered-down version of the truth when you watch the NFL, MLB, NBA, and NHL Network, because they have to protect their product. And their product is reflective of the 32 teams or 30 teams that they have in their brand. That is what. So you're not going to get the full story. That's why what you say, with all due respect, is hogwash, because you can watch it and there might be some nice things, but right now, MLB Network, what is it? What is the MLB Network?
Well, there's no baseball.
There's nothing.
Yeah.
There's no basketball.
Yeah.
The only channel would be worth watching is the NFL Network, and what are they talking about?
Not much, because there isn't anything you got a canceled Hall of Fame game.
Yeah.
Which, get used to that, because there are going to be a lot of games that are going to get canceled this year. But
and at least
the
ESPN, when you turn it on, it's okay. Is the NFL going to have a season? Why or why not? You don't get that on the NFL Network, because they don't even want you to think that there's not a season, because they still want you to go out and buy their jerseys. They want you to buy their tickets and all that stuff.
But they're not going to go that much into it, because the NFL has a multi-billion-dollar contract with the NFL. ESPN does, to broadcast their games.
I watched it this morning.
They're not going to bite the hand that feeds them all that often, because they got a $1 billion contract that is.
Well, that's interesting, because this morning they had a discussion about if the NFL, basically the same exact discussion we had on our show yesterday, was if the NFL has to cut how many games they play, how many is comfortable? Is it 10? Is it 12? Is it 6? Is it like, you're not going to find that conversation happening on the NFL Network, because they would hate to even think about that, to put that bug in somebody's ear.
Sure.
So that's why, like, when you say all this stuff about ESPN, listen, when you say egotistical, you are talking about basically anybody in news or radio or TV or that. We're all egotistical
in certain markets. The higher up you are,
very much so. Everybody's
and very few of them are not.
And ESPN is considered the creme de la creme.
At one point, it was.
Still is. Like, nobody goes to college and says, "Man, I really want to work at
Fox Sports 2,
CNNSI." Because there's no CNN.
There is no CNNSI.
But I never even heard those words uttered of, hey, I want to go work at this.
Yeah.
It's always, I want to go to ESPN.
Sure.
And I have friends at ESPN. And you are right to some degree. They will have a little bit of egotistical, and they do make it about themselves. However, they will still be straight with you. I still think they got bullets in the gun, and they like to shoot them at bay. So. Agree to disagree, as we usually do.
No, and look, that's all right. I'm just saying it's been irrelevant for the last 15, 20 years.
I don't think so.
Non-athletic events.
I think irrelevant is a little strong.
No, because all these other channels that popped up in the last decade popped up because ESPN was killing it. So you can't say they're irrelevant when they're forced.
They popped up because ESPN was dropping the ball and everyone wanted to kick the ball up.
Fox Sports came up and said, we need to compete with ESPN. So let's make Fox Sports 1 and put our own shows up.
Which I think was a great idea, but has turned out to be a garbage product.
Pretty much, yeah.
And they tried to not be ESPN, which would make them successful with it.
Look, I can sit back and pick the low hanging fruit. The whole network is garbage. But that's
all right.
But that's low hanging fruit, and I'm not going to go there. But you know where I stand with that.
Yeah, left side.
No, it's just it's just look. I mean, I'm not a big ESPN fan for quite some time. Ironically enough, I love their broadcasts when they have games. I think that Herb Street is one of the best color analysts for football from the college aspect of things. I think he does a fantastic job. I think their Saturday morning show at College Game Day is phenomenal. They need more Lee Corsos of the world who put on stuff and act.
So you just want to watch cartoons in sports?
Pretty much.
Okay.
And I mean from that perspective, but as
Not
far
so
as
fast, my friend.
As far as their sports centered, the 60s.
Whoa,
okay.
Awesome.
They're okay. They can be a little bit better, but
no
they're
one
okay.
does sports features and documentaries like ESPN.
The WWE would like to call and have a conversation.
You want to talk about cartoons like that? Like
their documentaries are unbelievable.
About
what, the Undertaker?
Fake.
I mean, that's from their own stuff. Just from doing a documentary from their own stuff. That's unbelievable. Their technical side of it.
Listen. You know I'm the biggest WWE fan. That's a 35-year-old in this room.
Yeah.
But I will tell you the same thing. Number one, it's fake. Number two,
of course.
their jobs are basically to do those documentaries. They're hiring cinematographers to shoot. They're not hiring camera photogs as we would hire in the business. They're not hiring sports photogs. They're hiring cinematographers, and they have directors and all that. All this stuff are all under the same roof. They're entertainment. That is in their name. So they better have good documentaries because they're borderline a reality show, to which, by the way, they have several of. So, I think to hold the WWE documentaries and the E60 is a little bit different because you can't always have. I watched last night. I watched 4 nights in October with the Boston Red Sox. Fantastic, unbelievable. The WWE could not do what they do. They cannot. That's why when they go do stuff about Hulk Hogan, it's hot trash because they didn't have the technology back then.
No, of course not.
ESPN makes chicken, you know what, out of chicken into chicken salad. So that's what they're dealing with. It's all about what you're dealing with from a technological standpoint. WWE, you can mic up the wrestlers. You can do for the longest time, and still the longest time, they want to keep you away from the game. Unless it's the All-Star game or an exhibition game, because they don't care if you steal the signs or somebody's in the dugout watching you live and getting the mic. But that's neither here nor there. I just think that I think you got to crawl in your what's that?
Not at all. I know bad TV when I see it. It's horrible.
Oh,
and again, I grew up in an era where the journalism was 100 times.
Well, you
better.
can say that about journalism. Period. Not just in sports. Well, everything is hot garbage right now.
That's true. That's very true.
I think they take a beat from the regular news.
Because nowadays with social media, everybody can be a journalist.
Well, that's the problem.
And that's the problem.
And that is a serious problem.
But I still think ESPN has some of the best sports writers in the business, period.
I think they have. I think they try to cross their streams too much. So a sports writer should be a sports writer and a columnist and should be a part of a show, shouldn't be the show.
Right.
I kind of liked when they had the sports reporters. That was before Bill Conlon and his escapades. And I don't want to trample on a dead man because he's gone, but let's just say that Conlon left the world in disgrace, and we'll leave it at that. But the show itself, it was pretty cool when they were wanting to stay on topic and actually talk about something and not turn it into a embarrassment, which was the latter stages of the sports reporters. It was a great idea and conceived and delivered really good the first few years, and then they got away and became stupid.
I always thought it was boring.
Did you like Outside the Lines?
Bob Lee was phenomenal. Yeah, he was. He was absolutely phenomenal. He was one of the last regulars, and when he left, I was like, all right, who's going to pick that up?
But the problem was everybody wanted to be Dan Patrick, and
Sure.
they just wanted to be catch lines.
Exactly.
There was more to it than the catch lines and the
Exactly.
catchphrases. It was they actually reported. They actually had you saw the relationships Stuart Scott had with Michael Jordan.
Yes.
Like that. The relationships were there. These are talking heads that don't care about relationships. If you're friends with them or you follow them on Twitter, then they think that that's a relationship.
Yeah.
Anchors that were on SportsCenter were in the community. They were in the stadiums. They were in. Now it's just you're an anchor, you're a reporter, and that's how it is.
Yep.
And that's frustrating.
Yeah, it is.
That's the big miss that ESPN's been doing.
Absolutely.
They put these beautiful faces, men and women, on the air, and they don't. Some of them don't even look like they like sports. If you're pronouncing names wrong, there's a problem. At that
serious
level.
problem.
Scott Van Pelt's still one of the best.
The GOAT.
He's good. He's solid.
To me, he's the best there is. And I, with all due respect to Stuart Scott, Dan Patrick, he's the best because he keeps it real. But he also came from the Golf Channel, which I thought was interesting, and he had to make things exciting to make himself stand out, and he did, and that's why he is where he is.
Sure wasn't Keith Olbermann.
I was never a fan of him.
I wasn't a fan of him at all.
His commercials on ESPN were hilarious.
Well, none of them approached Charlie Steiner's status.
No.
Charlie!
Yeah.
Follow me
to freedom. Yeah.
I can't wait to do those. We've been talking about it for 2 years.
2003 winter meetings. The first one since joining. It was after the 03 season. It was in Nashville. Dusty Baker was. They invited us to the minor league party, the whole 9 yards. Charlie Steiner was, I think he was the voice of the Yankees, and he was in the winter meetings. And Charlie Steiner walks past me. I swear to you, I did this. I looked over at him and I just glared at him and I go, follow me to freedom. He just lost it. He just started laughing his ass off. And he looked at me and he goes, yeah, I've gotten that a few times.
I can imagine.
Yep, I can imagine.
He was known for that.
He probably gets a lot of pool boys too, because that pool boy commercial.
The Melrose Place thing. Yeah, that was he was talking about that one too. The other one that comes to mind, Tim Kirchin, when Scott Van Pelt was on ESPN radio. And he had Kirchin on all the time. He had to give the Western PA lingo where he would say something and it would sound hilarious to where Kirchin would laugh. So Kirchin's walking down the stairs a few years later, and I look over at him and I go, Joe Flacco! And he just turns around and starts laughing. He's like, yeah, he says Van Pelt's hilarious when he does that.
No wonder he likes the cartoons. He is one.
There you go. All right, we're 17 minutes into overtime. We need to do some things, like get out of here. Enjoy your weekend, everyone. We will talk soon. The Monday edition of Running Point coming up on Monday. Enjoy your